Chapter 410. Within the passageway it was pitch black. Even Wang Kai, who was at the Tao Profound Realm, was unable to see anything clearly. Even his soul was unable to pry into it anymore. It was completely different from when he was outside. Before entering the passageway, he was still able to pry into the scene within the passageway by using his soul. But at this moment, after entering the passageway, he was unable to see anything clearly. Another formation? Eyes of truth. Whoosh, whoosh. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. 2 rays of silver light flickered and penetrated out from his eyes as he scanned the surroundings within the passageway. The scene he saw caused his heart to violently jump. Within the passageway there were countless corpses lying on the ground. There were shattered bones and corpses with traces of blood that had yet to dry. To Wang Kai, he had seen too many dead people. Although this passageway was filled with corpses and bones, it was still far from being able to shock Wang Kai. What truly caused Wang Kai to be astonished was the way those corpses died and their injuries. Almost all of them died in an extremely strange way. Some were lying on the ground with bloodstains on their buttocks. There was even a bloody hole that directly penetrated from their buttocks to their stomach. There were even those whose eyes were pierced through the back of their heads, the 2 points on their chests, the lower body, and even the soles of their feet, mouths, ears, and other parts of their bodies died. Such a tricky way to die. What kind of person is the owner of this Tao God's ruins? Wang Kai's expression was extremely strange. Especially those cultivators whose buttocks were pierced to death. It caused Wang Kai to be extremely speechless. Ah, my ass. No. What is this? Who is? My eyes, no, don't. In an instant, the miserable cries of numerous yellow-wind bandits sounded out behind him, reverberating within the passageway without ceasing. No matter if it was a man or a woman, they all emitted horrifying cries that caused one's hair to stand on end. Wang Kai frowned as he turned around to look, only to see that most of the yellow-wind bandits had already become corpses lying on the ground. The way they died was no different from those corpses. Even if it was a woman, there were some whose chests were blasted apart. Whoosh, whoosh. Ugh. Fuck your uncle, who's poking your Uncle Lou's butt. It hurts so much. Sect leader, save me. Lu Tian covered his buttocks, which were covered in blood, as he screamed and ran crazily towards the front. He couldn't see anything at all and could only blindly run forward. The other surviving yellow-wind bandits did the same. Behind them, there were dozens or even hundreds of palms chasing after them. Some of the palms had 2 fingers, some were in the shape of a claw, and some had only 1 finger. Wang Kai's face darkened as he recalled how the skeletons had died. Wasn't this the sign of a female Xiujia's chest being ripped apart, or a male Xiujia's but being poked or blinded? Judging from his aura, he shouldn't be strong. The aura of each palm was different? Could it be that it is judged based on the cultivation of the attacked cultivator? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. When Lu Tian arrived in front of him, he suddenly waved his hand and hit him back. Following that was a terrifying, oppressive might. Instantly, those palms dissipated into nothingness. Swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, 2 palms joined together and attacked Wang Kai from behind. Furthermore, his aura was shockingly the same as Wang Kai's. He was also at the Tao Profound Realm. Wang Kai's face instantly darkened like ink. He suddenly turned around and slapped his palm down fiercely, colliding with that palm. Bang! Crack! Following that palm dissipating, Wang Kai's face was still livid to the extreme. Such a tricky attacking method. If he was really hit, even if he didn't die, he would be disgusted for several hundred years, right? Looking at Lu Tian lying on the ground with his buttocks sticking out, his hands even tightly covering his, but that was full of blood, such an appearance immediately caused the corners of Wang Kai's mouth to twitch fiercely. Simulating the realm and cultivation of the Xiujia who entered this passageway, and then attacking with the same cultivation. Since that's the case, Why do you still need to make an array formation to block the Xiozha's vision? Suppressing one's realm to the same level as the Xiozha who entered, what's the use? Isn't it still beneficial to the master of the ruins? Wang Kai's expression was rather disdainful as he snorted coldly. As far as Wang Kai was concerned, the methods that the master of the ruins used to kill people were extremely tricky and disgusting. Even his character was extremely bad. Swoosh! Wang Kai flipped his hand and gestured, capturing Lu Tian and Jin Yi behind him. After that, he tapped his feet and dashed towards the end of the passageway like the wind. All along the way, he encountered endless attacks. But fortunately, the might of every palm that attacked was at the Tao Profound Realm, and it always maintained the same level as Wang Kai. However, Wang Kai possessed a level 10 bloodline, and the array formation within the passageway was unable to be simulated. So long as the might of the Tao King realm didn't emerge, it was naturally unable to cause any threat. After dashing for an entire 2 hours, he passed through the passageway and arrived at a place under a clear sky. A tall city without a city gate was reflected into his eyes. Thump! Thump! Wang Kai flipped his hand and threw Lu Tian and Jin Yi onto the ground. Raising his head to look at the clear sky, the scorching sun, the azure sky and the floating white clouds, he couldn't help but smile in surprise. It's really interesting. Damn it. It hurts Uncle Lu to death. Who exactly is it? Who is so despicable? Lu Tian wanted to cry but had no tears as he laid on the ground. His hands were tightly covering his buttocks as fresh blood dripped down. It could be seen how miserable he was right now. On the other hand, Jin Yi was fine. They were at the same level, but their physical bodies were different. Those attacks weren't able to cause any harm to him. However, there was still pain. Sect Master, are we really going to continue? Jin Yi's expression was rather ugly. As the Lion King of the Pride, he was actually attacked inexplicably here. Moreover, the places that were attacked were tricky. It was truly unbearable for the Lion King Jin Yi. Naturally, I'm afraid it's difficult to turn back now. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather indifferent expression. He couldn't help but turn around to look at the holes in the void. There was a chain hanging down from one of the holes, but there was no movement in the other places. From this, it could be seen that there was indeed a way out among the nearly 10,000 holes, and there was only one way out. The rest had all died in the passageway. I wonder who survived? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled curiously. With his hands behind his back, he took a step and flew up the city wall. Seeing this, Jin Yi could only keep up with a vigilant expression. He had no idea what kind of danger would happen later. Rather, it would be better to say that the attacks in the passageway had now become fearful. Bastard, why aren't you coming over to help this elder follow the sect master? Lu Tian cursed angrily. Until now, the pain in his buttocks was still heart-wrenching. Even moving would cause him to fall to the ground in pain. Chapter 411. On the city wall, Wang Kai stood with his hands behind his back. As he sized up the scene in the city, he couldn't help but frown slightly. In the city, other than a black palace in the center, there were no other buildings. On a plain, there were densely packed skeleton corpse soldiers. There were tall and short skeletons among the corpse soldiers. The only thing they had in common was that they all wore black gloves on their hands. The city was filled with skeleton corpse soldiers, surrounding the palace in the center. They were everywhere, from left to right, front to back, and even in all directions. No matter which direction one entered the city, if one wanted to reach the palace, they would have to charge through the skeleton corpse soldiers. And now, there was a young man with his upper body exposed fighting with the skeleton corpse soldiers in the city. Is he the only one who survived? Divine Path Realm? No, judging from his aura, he should have just broken through to the Divine Path Realm. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sized up the young man. Especially when he sensed that his aura was still rising rapidly, he became more and more curious. It wasn't that there was no such thing as raising one's realm in battle, but it was too rare to see someone raise his realm so quickly like this young man. Moreover, looking at the rising trend of his aura, he could break through to the second stage of the Divine Path realm at any time. God. Those are all. Damn. No way? Their attacks are exactly the same as those in the passageway. Lu Tian laid on Gold One's back and looked at the skeleton corpse soldiers in the city, especially those who were besieging the young man. The moves they used were all tricky and strange, and every move was extremely ruthless. Eyes, mouth, nose, ears, buttocks, lower body, armpits, and other parts. Such a scene instantly caused Lu Tian's back to hurt more and more. His body suddenly trembled and his face was pale. He said with a trembling voice, "Sect Master, can I not go down?" "Not go down?" Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard that. He couldn't help but glance at his back that was full of blood. He couldn't help but laugh and said, "Up to you." However, the skeleton corpse soldiers below should have the same realm as the intruder. It's not like the passageway where you can see things clearly. If you can pass through and get the inheritance of the Divine Path realm, whoosh. As soon as he said this, Lu Tian's eyes immediately lit up. However, when he thought about the losses he suffered in the passageway and the densely packed skeleton corpse soldiers below, even if they were at the same level, it would probably be difficult for them to survive. If he were to be stabbed again, wouldn't his buttocks be bleeding? Forget it. This kind of inheritance is too despicable. In the future, I want to dominate the Eastern Wasteland and even the 8 Wastelands. I definitely cannot rely on this kind of inheritance. Lu Tian shook his head violently as he spoke. The intense pain in his buttocks caused his face to contort. Wang Kai shrugged when he saw this. He placed his hands behind his back and floated down from the sky. He said with a playful smile, "It's a pity that you're only an immortal emperor now and you haven't condensed your Tao. If you're able to obtain this Tao God's inheritance, you'll definitely be able to step into the divine Tao. Even if you're able to cultivate to the peak of the Tao God realm, it'll be easy." Whoosh. Lu Tian's eyes shone brightly after his words sounded. However, he was also extremely hesitant. He struggled on the city wall and was unable to make a decision for a long time. If there were not many white bone corpse soldiers below, it would be fine. However, it was impossible to calculate. Even if they were at the same level, they would definitely not be able to remain unharmed. "Elder, I think we shouldn't go down." Gold One's body was also trembling. Although his body was strong, the parts that were attacked still hurt. Moreover, the parts that were attacked were so embarrassing. However, Lu Tian's eyes lit up. He clapped his hands and laughed loudly. "Let's go, Gold One. Take me down and use your body to help me block the attacks." Whoosh. The moment these words came out, Gold One's body froze and his face turned green. He shook his head and said, "No, no, no, Elder Lu, you can't do this. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and carry me down. If you don't agree, I'll seal your body and throw you into the city. At that time, you won't even be able to resist. Think about what will happen." Lu Tian grinned viciously. Buzz. Under Lu Tian's tug, black chains suddenly appeared on Gold One's body. Elder Lu. I'll go." Gold One screamed in grief and indignation. He immediately jumped up and landed in the city. If Lu Tian really did that, wouldn't he be humiliated by the white bone corpse soldiers at will when he was unable to move? It seems that the formation in the ruins can only simulate the cultivation base of the intruder. As for the physique, it can't simulate it. If I didn't release my aura in the passage earlier, I probably wouldn't have been attacked. Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and smiled indifferently. He walked in the encirclement of the white bone corpse soldiers as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. Wherever he passed, he was not attacked at all. Due to the system, as long as he didn't release his aura, no matter how strong he couldn't detect it. This was also the reason why the White Bone Corps soldiers didn't attack him at all. On the contrary, Gold One and Lu Tian were chased and beaten by the White Bone Corps soldiers as soon as they came down. Every move was extremely tricky. Gold One howled in pain and his attacks became fiercer. Crack! Crack! Looking at the White Bone Corps soldiers being smashed into pieces by Gold One's claws, even if Gold One was attacked, his life wouldn't be threatened. As such, Wang Kai was even more certain of his guess just now. The ruins could only simulate the cultivation base of the intruder. The strength of the physique couldn't be simulated. Why weren't you attacked? When Wang Kai leisurely walked past the encirclement of the White Bone Corps soldiers, the young man who had already fought his way to the front of the palace looked at Wang Kai in shock and asked loudly, "Haha, this sect master is the sect master of the Defying Sky sect. This sect master even dares to defy the heavens. How much can a mere test in the Tao God ruins do to this sect master?" Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled with an indifferent expression. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience. Bragging points, 100 points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching the 7th grade Tao Profound Realm. Defying Sky Sect? Sect Master? He even dares to defy the heavens?" The young man's eyes bulged when he heard that. He looked at Wang Kai with an extremely astonished expression, so much so that he was momentarily absent-minded. His backside was immediately ruthlessly poked by the White Bone Corps soldier. Hiss hiss. The young man's face suddenly twisted. He turned around and smashed his fist down in extreme anger. He directly smashed the White Bone Corps soldier into powder and dissipated. Not even a residue was left. He was several times more terrifying than Gold One. His realm had clearly just stepped into the Supreme Tao realm, but the strength of his physique was even more powerful than Gold One. "What's your name? Where are you from? Looking at your physique, you shouldn't be weak, right? Do you want to join this sect master's Defying Sky sect?" Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a smile. This young man's physique was definitely extremely strong. It was definitely above the sacred physique. Mortal physique, spiritual physique, sacred physique, and above that was the divine physique. "Humph, even if I tell you, you won't believe it. My name is Yang Wei, sovereign physique, pure Yang overlord physique. Laugh at me as much as you want." Yang Wei sneered with a face full of disdain. As soon as his voice fell, he swayed his bulging muscles and his extremely mighty body. He fought with the White Bone Corps soldiers openly. Everywhere he passed, the ground was filled with white bone powder as he headed straight for the palace. Chapter 412. Since he had already said so much, how was he going to quit the sect? Yang Wei's face was extremely ugly. His eyes were filled with helplessness and self-mockery. He secretly mocked himself for having encountered too many unlucky things. But soon, Yang Wei regained his composure and stood up. His face was full of vigor and his fighting spirit was burning. In his opinion, even if he had made a mistake by joining the Sky Discord sect, he would at most return to the state of working hard on his own cultivation. Moreover, he had a sovereign body and would one day become a powerhouse. At that time, all his encounters and misfortune would vanish like smoke in thin air. Wang Kai naturally saw this scene and understood Yang Wei's mood. He had to admit that this person was worthy of admiration. With such fighting spirit, how could he not be strong? Haha, Yang Wei, you will understand that joining the Sky Discord sect may be the best decision you have made in your life. You must want to ask why, right? The answer is actually very simple. I am very awesome. I am so awesome that no one can stop me. I am so awesome that even the heavens can't cover my imposing figure. Wang Kai said with a proud smile with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Yang Wei was stunned when he heard this. He thought to himself, I didn't ask why. What's more, he was clearly bragging, okay? But in the end, he could only sigh in his heart and accept his fate. Although Yang Wei was born in a mountain village, his temperament had always been upright, especially when it came to promises. Once he had made a decision, he would not go back on it. Even if the road ahead was dark, he would still grit his teeth and charge forward. Wang Kai had previously accepted him as the church master of the Sky Discord sect because he valued his sovereign body. Now, there was another layer of appreciation. At least you are much better than that guy. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. He was speechless as he looked at Gold One, who was shouting and running over, and Lu Tian, who was on his back. Haha, sect master, my martial prowess just now. Who is this kid? Lu Tian was halfway through his words when his eyes suddenly narrowed, and he looked at Yang Wei with a slightly unfriendly expression. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this. He gently nodded and smiled. His name is Yang Wei, the Hall Master of the Heaven-Defying Sect's mighty hall. Impotence? Ah, what a good name! What a great name! Lu Tian was stunned for a moment before he burst into laughter. He kept slapping Gold One's head with his palm. At this moment, Gold One couldn't help but laugh. Although he was a demonic beast, his intelligence wasn't any lower than a human's. Moreover, he was also a male, so he naturally understood what Lu Tian meant. His name is Lu Tian, the Grand Elder of the Heaven-Defying Sect. This is Jin Yi, the Hall Master of the Golden Lion Hall. With his hands behind his back, Wang Kai introduced them one by one with a smile. He had to admit that Yang Wei's name was a little strange. On the other hand, Yang Wei didn't have any dissatisfaction, as if he was used to such names. He cupped his fist and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, I'm Yang Wei, I'm not impotent. Greetings to Elder Lu and Hall Master Jin. It's all the same meaning, the same meaning. Lu Tian, Yang. Impotence, Lu Tian. Cough cough, the two of you must get along well. When you have time, you can also learn from each other. Otherwise, how can you live up to such coincidental names? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a playful smile. When Lu Tian and Yang Wei heard this, they looked at each other and shook their heads speechlessly. Especially Yang Wei. At first, he didn't realize that Wang Kai was such a person. If he had known earlier, however, it was too late to say anything. Wang Kai. Suddenly, a delicate voice filled with coldness rang out, accompanied by an extremely terrifying aura. Such a powerful oppressive force immediately caused Wang Kai to be startled, and he hurriedly turned his head to look. Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and Jin Yi's faces also changed as they looked over with slightly pale faces. There was a graceful figure standing on the city wall with a sword in hand. She had an exquisite and enchanting figure and wore a purple long dress. Her face was covered with a veil and her face could not be seen. However, her purple eyes that were exposed were extremely enchanting. What caught Wang Kai's attention was the flames burning around the girl. It was a blue flame. In his memories, there was only one type of blue flame. It was the fourth-ranked flame, the mysterious sky-heavy flame. It was the heaviest flame. Just a bit of its flame could destroy a mountain. Who are you? Wang Kai frowned and pretended not to know her. She was naturally present in the memories of the true spirit clone. This girl was the eldest princess of the Eastern Imperial Court, Dongfang Xian. However, even if he knew her, he couldn't say that he knew her. Even though the dustless flame could suppress the mysterious sky-heavy flame, Dongfang Xian's mysterious sky-heavy flame was different. In the Eastern Imperial Court, the bloodline of the direct descendants all possessed the bloodline power of the mysterious sky-heavy flame. Just as the old man had said, only the unique flame that had turned into a bloodline was the strongest. The true spirit clone had relied on the dustless flame to suppress the unique flame to provoke Dongfang Xian. In the end, he had been chased by the entire eastern wasteland. With the true spirit clone as an example, how could Wang Kai admit that he knew her? Dongfang Xian's eyes flickered as she coldly stared at Wang Kai. Her killing intent was revealed as she reprimanded, "Wang Kai, you don't need to quibble. General Sun has already told me about you." Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, Wang Kai's expression suddenly turned cold, and a strand of cold light flashed in his eyes. If he knew this would happen, then he would have killed General Sun. "Let's go," Wang Kai said in a low voice with an unsightly expression. He immediately turned around and pushed open the door of the palace. His figure flashed as he entered. Could she be Dongfang Xian? Lu Tian was stunned for a moment before he reacted. He was so frightened that his face turned pale. He patted Gold One's head and said loudly, "Why aren't you following the sect master? Are you waiting for death?" Although Lu Tian had no enmity with Dongfang Xian, he was still the Grand Elder of the Sky Discord sect. If he fell into her hands, his life and death would be unpredictable. As Gold One rushed into the palace with Lu Tian on his back, Yang Wei followed closely behind with a pale face. Naturally, he had the same thought as Lu Tian. He was afraid that he would be affected by Dongfang Xian's anger. After all, as the Eastern Imperial Court's princess, Dongfang Xian's temper had always been bad. No one could guarantee that she wouldn't be affected. "Sigh, I just got on the pirate ship and now I'm being chased." Yang Wei was speechless as he sighed. His heart was filled with unspeakable sorrow and helplessness. "Pervert! Do you think you can escape?" Dongfang Xian's beautiful eyes flashed coldly as she looked at the palace door that was gradually closing. She waved her long sword and slashed it down. Whoosh! Bang! Crack! In an instant, a blue sword light pierced through and slashed at the door. The simple and heavy door did not even have the ability to block the attack. It instantly shattered into pieces and exploded. Chapter 413. As expected of Dongfang little girl at the Tao God realm. Within the palace, Wang Kai's face instantly sank when he saw the door explode into pieces. Since the beginning, he'd understood that he was absolutely not a match for her, yet he'd never imagined that she would actually be so formidable. These ruins were called the ruins of the Tao God, and this proved that the master of the ruins was at the same level as Dongfang Xian. However, now, even the ruins of the Tao God was unable to stop her. Wang Kai was completely thinking about how to leave the ruins right now. Otherwise, wouldn't he die here? Even if his bloodline could be reborn, Wang Kai was still unwilling to taste death. The main reason was that it was too embarrassing. "Sect Master, what should we do?" Lu Tian's face was ghastly pale. It would be a lie if he said that he wasn't afraid. However, he could be considered to have completely seen through Wang Kai. Earlier, he spoke so much about how formidable he was, but he was completely bragging. Yang Wei's expression was unsightly to the extreme. It could be said that he shouldn't have followed them in just now. In that way, Dongfang Xian wouldn't have thought that he was on Wang Kai's side. However, it was too late to say anything now. "Haha, there's no need to worry. She's just a mere Tao God. Killing her would only be a matter of moving my fingers." Wang Kai placed his hands behind his back and feigned indifference as he spoke with a smile on his face, yet his gaze swept the surroundings of the palace as he searched for an exit to leave. "Congratulations to host for bragging successfully. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to host for breaking through and attaining the first rank Tao Lord realm." He's actually still bragging at such a state. Lu Tian and Yang Wei were speechless to the extreme. Even Lion King Jin Yi sat on the ground in despair. If one still didn't understand Wang Kai's character now, then one would truly be an idiot. The palace was extremely spacious. Besides the pillars, there was only a translucent table of ice at the end of the hall and a chair of ice behind the table. Wang Kai's face instantly darkened when he saw that there was nothing on the ice table. However, if one looked carefully, one would discover that there was a dark bead on the chair. It was only half the size of a palm. Which one of you wants the inheritance here? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a playful expression. Although Lu Tian was only an immortal emperor and had yet to condense his Tao, cultivating this inheritance would be extremely beneficial. However, Yang Wei and Jin Yi were also members of the heaven-defying sect. Even if they were subordinates, Wang Kai still had to treat them equally. I don't want to. I just want to know how to get out of here. Yang Wei shook his head as he spoke. As an exalt-grade physique, he'd already attained the divine Tao realm, and the Tao he cultivated had already been condensed, so he naturally wouldn't rashly choose the Tao of another to cultivate. What's more, the tests in the ruins were all tricky and strange. They were completely incompatible with the pure Yang overlord body. Genie also raised his paw and said with a hoarse voice, I don't want it either. I can't cultivate a human's inheritance. Since the two of you don't want it, then this elder will reluctantly accept it. In the future, don't say that this elder didn't give way to the two of you. Lu Tian coughed twice and looked at Wang Kai. When Yang Wei and Jin Yi heard this, they were filled with disdain. They secretly thought that even if that inheritance was delivered to their doorstep, they still wouldn't want it. Thinking about the tricky attacks in the ruins, it was obvious that the owner of the ruins wasn't a good person. His inheritance wouldn't be any better. Wang Kai, why don't you continue to run? Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure in purple slowly walked in from the entrance of the palace. Dongfang Xian's ice-cold eyes were firmly staring at Wang Kai from start to finish. Her intense killing intent was extremely frightening. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yang Wei and Jin Yi's expressions tightened as they stood up and looked at her with caution. Even if they knew that they weren't her match, they couldn't just sit and wait for death. Dongfang Xian, do you have a special fetish? You actually want this sect master to continue running? Are you going to chase me from behind? If you really like this sect master, you don't have to do this. As long as you nod your head, this sect master will lower himself and spend a night with you. Wang Kai's eyes slightly narrowed as he sneered with a somewhat mocking tone. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. When Lu Tian and the others heard this, their faces instantly stiffened as they looked at Wang Kai in astonishment. It was hard to imagine that he could still brag when he was blocked at the door by a Tao god. Was he really not afraid of death? Whoosh! When they looked at Dongfang Xian again, she was already so angry that her delicate body was slightly trembling. A cold glint appeared in her beautiful eyes as she immediately shouted and swung her long sword down. Pervert, die! Whoosh! As a sword light mixed with blue flames slashed down, Wang Kai's pupils suddenly shrank. With a flip of his hand, he removed the heaven-reaching tower hanging from his ear. Stinking woman, do you think this sect master is afraid of you? Whoosh! Clank! In an instant, the blue sword light slashed the heaven-reaching tower, causing sparks to explode. With the sound of metal clashing, the heaven-reaching tower was forcefully pushed back. Bang! What? The heaven-reaching tower flew back, knocking Wang Kai and sending him flying. He fiercely crashed into a pillar and spat out a mouthful of blood. Heaven-reaching tower? You actually have the heaven-reaching tower. Who exactly are you? Dongfang Xian's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. She was about to swing her long sword to attack when she suddenly stopped. Cough, cough. Wang Kai stood up with a pale countenance, and his figure swayed a few times before he stabilized himself by leaning on a pillar. After that, he flipped his hand and summoned the heaven-reaching tower into his palm. He laughed coldly when he heard this. Looks like you know quite a lot, huh? Even if it's your imperial father, the Eastern Emperor, I can beat him up at will if he dares to be disrespectful to this sect master. Do you believe me? Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging point. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through and attaining the second rank of the Downlord realm. Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, Dongfang Xian's eyes instantly flickered while her thin lips that were hidden beneath the veil were bitten to the point a mark appeared. She stared fixedly at the heaven-reaching tower and rebuked coldly. "I don't believe you!" Slap! As soon as she finished speaking, she saw Wang Kai raise his hand and slap himself. Such a scene instantly caused Dongfang Xian to be extremely surprised. Yang Wei, Lu Tian, and Jin Yi were even stunned on the spot. "This sect master will beat your father up right now. What are you going to do about it?" Wang Kai shrugged and roared with laughter with a rather carefree expression. Swoosh! At this moment, Dongfang Xian and the others finally understood that this was Wang Kai's objective from the beginning until the end. He slapped himself, yet he said that he'd beaten up Dongfang Xian's imperial father, the Eastern Emperor. "Wang Kai, I swear that I'm not human if I don't kill you. Even if you possess the heaven-reaching tower, it'll be difficult for you to survive. Die." Dongfang Xian rebuked in a delicate voice, and her gaze was filled with extreme embarrassment as she swung her sword down once more. Swish! As the blue-colored sword light pierced through, the might it carried was a few times stronger than before. Even if the heaven-reaching tower was able to resist it, it would definitely be difficult for Wang Kai to survive. Little kid from the Eastern Emperor's clan, it isn't a good thing to be too presumptuous. Chapter 4:14. Whoosh! Bang! As a stream of light streaked across, the sword chi that was slashing towards him was instantly destroyed and dissipated. Under Wang Kai's astonished gaze, he saw the pitch-black pearl floating in front of him. The destruction of Dongfang Xian's sword chi was caused by this pearl. Shameless Tao God. Dongfang Xian's gaze was extremely cold as she reprimanded. Her jade-like hand waved the long sword and pointed it downwards. Shameless Tao God? When these words were spoken, Wang Kai's brows immediately twitched. He never imagined that there would be such a Tao technique in this world. However, when he thought about the crafty attacks in the ruins, he understood. It was reasonable for such a strange attack to be called shameless. Thousands of years have passed, but this Tao God is still remembered by the world. This is a happy matter. However, the Tao that this Tao God cultivates is called life-chasing. This Tao God's Tao name is life-chasing. As a voice filled with pride rang out from the pearl, the corners of everyone's mouths twitched. Life-chasing Tao? Life-chasing Tao God? It sounded quite domineering, but such a crafty attack, how could it be worthy of such a Tao name? Shameless Tao God. Back then, you were merely a Tao God. The reason why you were known by so many forces in the eastern wasteland was because of the despicable and shameless Tao you cultivated. I never imagined that you would never regret it. It's no wonder that you couldn't break through the Tao God realm and become a sovereign. The despicable and shameless Tao is a small Tao in the end. It's difficult for it to be refined, and it can't become a sovereign Tao. Dongfang Xian's tone was filled with ridicule as she sneered. Whoosh! As her voice rang out, under the strange gazes of Wang Kai and the others, the pitch-black pearl floated to the ice bench. Rays of black light emerged from the pearl and gradually condensed into a black-haired, middle-aged man. He had triangular eyes, a mustache, and a mole with black hair on his chin. The hair was as long as a finger and curled upwards. What made people even more speechless was that this person was extremely skinny. She was so skinny that she was all skin and bones. The only thing that was beautiful about her was that her palms were extremely long and slender. Furthermore, her fingernails were even longer and looked like sharp daggers. When they witnessed this scene, Wang Kai and the others didn't have to think to understand that this person really deserved to be called the shameless Tao God. His appearance, slender fingers, and long fingernails, were definitely used to do shameless things. Seeing this, Lu Tian and Gold One couldn't help but tighten their buttock. If they were poked by such a palm, the consequences would be unimaginable. Little kid from the East Clan, even though you possess the Heavenly Xian bloodline formed by the Heavenly Xian Heavy Fire, it is better for you to restrain yourself in the remains that I have left behind. Jue Ming Dao God squinted his triangular eyes and laughed. His voice was extremely ear-piercing. Especially when she was talking, she was twirling the hair of the mole with her fingers. It looked rather disgusting. Humph! Shameless Taoist god, you've already fallen 1,000 years ago. Now, you're relying on the 10,000-year ice to preserve your divine sense until now. You're far from qualified to make me stop. Dongfang Xian sneered mockingly. However, she tightened her grip on the long sword in her lily-white hand. She had chased Wang Kai all the way to the Heaven Reverse domain. Originally, she could still track Wang Kai's aura, but it had mysteriously disappeared and all her senses had been cut off. She originally wanted the experts of the Heaven Reverse Manor and the various factions in the Heaven Reverse domain to search for Wang Kai's whereabouts. However, she also heard that they had discovered the remains of a Dao god. As a Dao god, how could she care about a mere Dao god's remains? She had come to this desert oasis to search for the various factions and issue orders. However, she hadn't expected that she would only encounter countless berserk lions outside. There were no experts from other factions. Fortunately, General Sun of the Heaven Reverse Manor had told her everything that had happened. However, as soon as she entered the remains, Dongfang Xian felt some regret. Through the attacks in the passageway, she had naturally discovered which Dao god had left behind the remains. Now that the divine sense of a Dao god had appeared, Dongfang Xian was truly unwilling to fight him unless she had no other choice. Little child of the Dongfang clan, you have also descended as a divine sense. If we fight, even if this Dao god loses in the end, it will be difficult for you to come out unscathed. Dao god Jue Ming stroked the long hair on his mole. His laughter was rather ear-piercing and extremely gloomy. Just a divine sense? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He narrowed his eyes and glanced at Dongfang Xian. When he saw a trace of fear flash through her eyes, he came to a sudden realization. If she was really poked by a Dao god, no matter how strong or proud a woman was, she would be unable to sleep at night and seek death at all times. Shameless Dao god, don't you dare be so arrogant. This princess's original body is hurrying here. If you dare to disrespect me, then not only will your divine sense be destroyed, but your inheritance will also vanish. Dongfang Xian sneered coldly. Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, Dao god Jue Ming's movements immediately stiffened. His triangular eyes were filled with killing intent as he said in an ear-piercing voice, "Little child of the Dongfang clan, if you are willing to become this Dao god's successor, then everything will be fine. If you don't agree, then this Dao god can make you helpless before your original body arrives." Wishful thinking. Dongfang Xian's eyes were filled with rage when she heard this. As the Princess Royal of the Eastern Imperial Court, how could she cultivate such a crafty and despicable inheritance? Moreover, she was also a Dao god like him, and she was confident that her Dao was superior to his. Since you don't agree, then wait at the side. If you are unwilling, then you can fight this Dao god. Dao god Jue Ming stroked the long hair on his mole. His triangular eyes were filled with threat. Such a situation caused Dongfang Xian to clench her teeth tightly. Her eyes were filled with killing intent as she stared at Wang Kai, but she just couldn't kill him. Dao god Jue Ming's attacks were truly too shameless. As the Princess Royal of the Eastern Imperial Court, how could she suffer such humiliation? Dao god Jue Ming, I hope you don't regret this, Dongfang Xian said coldly. Then she brandished her long sword and retreated a few steps. She blocked the entrance of the hall and stared at Wang Kai. If Dongfang Xian's original body arrived, even Dao God Jue Ming would find it difficult to resist. Boy, what's your name? Are you willing to accept this Dao God's inheritance? Dao God Jue Ming squinted his triangular eyes and looked at Lu Tian with admiration. Dao God Jue Ming naturally took note of all the tests outside, and only Lu Tian was suitable for him. Lu Tian, in the future, you will be the man who dominates the eastern wilderness and even the 8 wilderness. Lu Tian rolled up his sleeves and said loudly with an arrogant expression. Whoosh! As soon as he said this, Dao God Jue Ming's eyes filled with admiration. He nodded and laughed sinisterly. Not bad, not bad. You have the qualifications to receive this Dao God's inheritance. However, the heaven-reaching tower is a great treasure in the 8 wilderness. If you want it, I can help you. I will also help you avoid the little kid from the Dongfang family. You have to know that with the heaven-reaching tower and my inheritance, it will be easy for you to dominate the eastern wilderness and even the 8 wilderness. Lu Tian's expression froze when he heard this. Yang Wei and Gold One's eyes darkened. Wang Kai's expression was indifferent. He didn't look at Lu Tian. Instead, he looked at Dao God Jue Ming mockingly. He couldn't help but laugh coldly. Aren't you showing off a little too much? You even dare to have ideas about this sect master? Chapter 4:15. Dao God Jue Ming glanced at Wang Kai coldly when he heard that. His triangular eyes were filled with determination. He looked at Lu Tian and asked with a sinister smile, Do you agree? Act tough. Act tough as much as you can. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw that. He stared at Dao God Jue Ming mockingly and didn't say anything else. He wanted to see what choice Lu Tian would make. This elder is the first-generation great elder of the Discord sect. As for you, this elder doesn't even want to mock you anymore. You're a piece of trash who died thousands of years ago. Now you want to threaten this elder to harm the sect master? Do you think you are qualified to do so? Lu Tian refuted in disdain. The expression on his face clearly expressed his disdain. Swoosh! Dao God Jue Ming was stunned for a few seconds when he heard that. He didn't expect Lin Fan to reject him. He gave up such a great opportunity just like that? What was more infuriating was that Lin Fan dared to insult him. Someone who values friendship too much won't be able to obtain my inheritance. Since you're unwilling, then die here with him. When I obtain the heaven-reaching pagoda, I'll be reborn as a weapon spirit. I'll definitely condense the supreme technique. Dao God Jue Ming sneered. Swoosh! Suddenly, Lu Tian was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly ran behind Wang Kai and retorted with his hands on his waist, Pretentious prick, you couldn't condense the supreme technique more than 1,000 years ago. Now that you've died, you've become a soul, and you're still pretentious. Clap clap. Wang Kai clapped his hands when he heard that. He praised proudly, that's right. As an elder of Discord sect, you should have such spirit. Sect master, I'm betting my life on you now. Please don't be so smug about it. Also, you have to snatch the inheritance of that shameless Dao God and give it to me as well. Lu Tian sent a voice transmission to Lin Fan. In Lu Tian's opinion, Wang Kai definitely had a method to deal with life-chasing Dao God. Otherwise, he wouldn't have directly insulted life-chasing Dao God. After all, Dongfang Xian temporarily refrained from attacking Wang Kai because of the threat of Dao God Jue Ming. Even in such a predicament, Wang Kai still dared to insult life-chasing Dao God. Was he not afraid that Dongfang Xian would join hands with life-chasing Dao God? At that time, he would definitely die, right? However, even so, Wang Kai still did it. This made Lu Tian subconsciously think that Wang Kai must have a powerful trump card that he hadn't used yet. What they didn't know was that with Wang Kai's character, even if he really encountered a life-and-death situation, he would still say whatever he wanted. He would never tolerate those who acted tough. Yang Wei, Gold One, Lu Tian, you guys go into the Tower of Babel first. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a calm smile. Whoosh! As soon as his voice fell, Wang Kai directly flipped his hand and sent Lu Tian and the others into the Tower of Babel. Life-chasing Dao God and Dongfang Xian didn't stop such a scene. In their opinion, Wang Kai was already a dead man, and the true owner of the Tower of Babel would definitely be one of the two of them. Little kid from the Dongfang family, you take his life, and I will take the Tower of Babel. What do you think? Life-chasing Dao God said with a sinister smile. Dongfang Xian's eyes were extremely cold when she heard this. She waved her long sword and pointed it at Wang Kai from afar. She said indifferently, his life is mine, and so is the Tower of Babel. You, on the other hand, have cultivated for thousands of years and still can't condense a sovereign technique. I am at the same level as you, but you keep calling him a little kid. Aren't you ashamed? Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, life-chasing Dao God's face instantly froze. His hand that was stroking the black mole stopped, and his triangular eyes were filled with intense killing intent. Haha, take my life? The two of you are discussing it? *CK your grandpa. Today, I will show you the power of burning the sky and boiling the sea. Wang Kai's expression was rather ferocious as he laughed coldly and coldly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. The power of burning the sky and boiling the sea? TSK. Life-chasing Dao God immediately sneered when he heard these words. Even Dongfang Xian glanced at Wang Kai with disdain. If he was really so capable, why did he have to hide? How dare you be so arrogant with just 2 divine consciousnesses here? Superpower, Fortune Deprivation Technique. Buzz. Wang Kai suddenly stretched out his hands, and wisps of white mist floated out from his palms. As they gathered, they formed 2 huge white mist arms. Both Dongfang Xian and life-chasing Dao God were startled when they saw this. It's the Tao of Fortune. Looking at their shocked expressions, Wang Kai immediately grinned coldly. He waved his arms and pointed at them, saying indifferently, Fortune, appear. Buzz. Buzz. The moment Wang Kai's voice fell, a huge ball of 5-colored light appeared above Dongfang Xian's head. At the same time, there was also a ball of 5-colored light above life-chasing Dao God's head. However, compared to Dongfang Xian's, it was several times smaller. You're courting death, Dongfang Xian shouted in a delicate voice. Her beautiful eyes were filled with fear as she hurriedly waved her long sword and slashed across the air. Life-chasing Dao God moved his body and clapped his hands together, causing his sharp nails to meet. His body was parallel and extremely fast as he attacked Wang Kai's back. The place where he attacked was the rear court. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai's face instantly became as black as ink. Gnashing his teeth, he shouted in a stern voice, *CK your grandpa. Deprive. Buzz. Bang. Bang. Suddenly, the 2 huge white fog arms grasped the air and grasped the 5-colored light above Dongfang Xian and life-chasing Dao God's head. At the same time, the sword light that Dongfang Xian slashed out actually changed direction, and the place it attacked was precisely life-chasing Dao God. Life-chasing Dao God's attack also changed its direction in a strange manner. It fiercely stabbed the ground and made a hole in the ground. Dongfang Xian, why did you sneak attack me? Life-chasing Dao God screamed with a pale face. He wanted to dodge, but as soon as he moved, he strangely fell to the ground. Life-chasing Dao God was scared out of his wits when he saw the sword light that was gradually enlarging in his eyes. Poof! The blue sword light struck life-chasing Dao God's divine consciousness with unerring accuracy, instantly turning his body into specks of light and dissipating into nothingness. Whoosh! Patter! With a flip of his hand, Wang Kai grasped the jet-black bead on the icy bench in his hand. Shrugging his shoulders with a rather playful expression, he looked at Dongfang Xian, whose eyes were filled with fear, and said with a playful smile, "Little girl Dongfang, if your true body had come, it would definitely be difficult for this sect master to take away your luck. However, you're just a mere divine will, yet you dare to come here and shout about killing. Don't you know that once your luck is taken away, bad luck will accompany you for the rest of your life? Now, do you want me to let go of your fate, or do you want me to let go of your fate? You!" Dongfang Xian's eyes were extremely cold when she heard this. She was so angry that she was about to swing her sword and kill him. However, as soon as she moved her arm, she lost her balance and fell to the ground. Her sword was also thrown to the side with clanking sounds. Chapter 4:16. Wang Kai, you deserve death. Dongfang Xian had only spoken halfway when she bit down on her tongue, and it instantly hurt to the point mist appeared in her eyes. She lay flat on the ground, and even if she wanted to get up, she would fall down once more. Such a strange scene caused Wang Kai's eyes to narrow slightly. Needless to say, the Tao of karmic luck was extremely formidable indeed. There was no suppression of cultivation at all, and it could seize the karmic luck of any expert. Even if Wang Kai was only at the Tao Lord realm now, he could still seize the karmic luck of a Tao god. However, everything had its pros and cons. Even if he could seize the karmic luck of another, he had to possess an equivalent strength to endure the karmic luck. Otherwise, if the karmic luck was seized and the main body was unable to endure it, then the consequences were bound to be miserable. With my current cultivation in the martial Tao, seizing the karmic luck of two Tao gods at the same time is already my limit. If it was my main body that came here, then my karmic luck would probably be unable to endure it. Wang Kai frowned as he pondered in his heart. A strand of heavy and indescribable pressure coiled around his body, and even moving a single step felt like a mountain was tied to his legs. If he waited for Dongfang Xian's main body to come here, then even if he seized her karmic luck once more, he would be bound to be unable to endure it. At that time, he would probably be crushed to death, right? When he thought up to here, Wang Kai utilized his will to control the two white mist arms that floated in midair and held karmic luck, and he directly crushed the karmic luck that belonged to the Tao God Life Seeker. Suddenly, the five-colored radiance of karmic luck transformed into specks of light that dispersed into the heavens and the earth. At the same time, the pressure on Wang Kai instantly lightened up slightly, and he strode over with slightly heavy steps to arrive before Dongfang Xian. He looked down coldly at her and said indifferently, "Didn't you say that this sect master is a pervert? Then this sect master will show you how perverted I am." Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, Dongfang Xian's eyes were instantly filled with terror, and she berated with extreme embarrassment. You want to..." However, because her karmic luck had been seized, it caused Dongfang Xian to be unable to speak. Once she opened her mouth, she would either bite her tongue or her lips, and even move her body would fall repeatedly. "Haha! What are you afraid of? Do you really think I'm interested in you? Even if you stand naked in front of me, I won't even blink my eyes, let alone do anything to you." Wang Kai sneered with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations on breaking through to the third rank of the Tao Lord realm. Hearing this, Dongfang Xian's beautiful eyes went blank for a moment. However, when Wang Kai bent down and stretched out his hand, a cold light instantly appeared. She tenderly reprimanded. However, in the end Dongfang Xian still tripped, and her red lips were even bleeding from being bitten by herself. She could only watch as Wang Kai's palm approached. "Wang Kai, if I don't kill you, I'm not human." Bang! As she spoke, Dongfang Xian's body gradually turned transparent. In the end, with an explosion, she collapsed and dissipated. Self-destruction of divine will? Dongfang Xian really is ruthless. Wang Kai's brows instantly raised. Even though he'd enjoyed this shocking scene, what awaited him was even more ferocious revenge. Self-destruction of divine will? That little girl from the East Clan is probably going to fall by a stage. She was originally at the peak of the Tao God realm, and she wasn't far from condensing an exalt technique. Now, she's wasted that opportunity and fell to the 8th rank of the Tao God realm. Kid, I advise you to leave the Heaven Reverse region as soon as possible. Within Skysplit Tower, Cat stroked his beard and spoke with a rather admiring expression. What a pity! How good would it be if she sent a clone? In that way, she wouldn't be able to self-destruct, and I'd be able to enjoy the beautiful scenery. Wang Kai sighed with slight regret. As soon as he finished speaking, he transformed into a ray of flowing light that shot out of the ruins. Swoosh! As Wang Kai emerged from the mouth of the tiger in the oasis, the veins on his forehead bulged as he gazed at the wild lions that were waiting outside and General Sun, who was still surrounded. General Sun, what a grandson! You actually dared to frame me? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. His face was filled with monstrous fury, causing General Sun's face to turn deathly pale. He was so frightened that he fainted on the ground. He'd never imagined that Wang Kai would actually be able to come out alive. What he regretted even more was that he shouldn't have told on Dongfang Xian. Seeing this, Wang Kai sneered coldly. With a flip of his hand, he stored the wild lions and the unconscious General Sun into the Skysplit Tower. He looked at the void in the distance and immediately stepped into the air without hesitation. In an instant, he was 10,000 miles away. Less than 100 breaths after Wang Kai left, the furious Dongfang Xian appeared in the sky above the oasis. The corner of her mouth, which was covered by a veil, was already soaked with fresh blood. From this, it could be seen how much damage she had suffered from the self-destruction of her divine will. Wang Kai, you must die. Whoosh! As her voice faded, Dongfang Xian floated into the mouth of the tiger. However, when she arrived at the palace, there was no one in sight. Such a situation caused Dongfang Xian to become extremely furious. She brandished her long sword and turned the ruins into ruins. Wang Kai! Wang Kai! Wang Kai! Wang Kai! Dongfang Xian flew out of the ruins and stood in the air. Her crazy voice was filled with anger as she continuously brandished her longsword, causing the oasis to sink deep into the desert. At the same time, several tens of thousands of miles away, Wang Kai was walking in a mountain forest in the Heaven Reverse region. He didn't dare to release any aura, fearing that Dongfang Xian would chase after him. Bang! Wang Kai sat on a large rock and released General Sun with a flip of his hand. With a powerful swing, he immediately smashed General Sun into the mountain wall. General Sun's face was deathly pale as he clutched his chest. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. Looking at the gloomy face of Wang Kai, he was so frightened that his knees bent and he knelt on the ground. Sect Leader Wang, please spare my life. Sect Leader Wang, bang! Bang bang bang! Looking at General Sun, who was constantly kowtowing and begging for mercy, Wang Kai's anger didn't diminish in the slightest. Spare your life? When you framed this sect leader, did you think about how you were going to survive? Now that the blade is hanging over your head, you only know how to regret it. Did you think about your grandfather before? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as the veins on his forehead bulged. If it wasn't for the Tao of Fortune, wouldn't he be doomed? Moreover, the other party was a woman. As a dignified man, if he was really killed by a woman, wouldn't he lose all face in the future? Moreover, Wang Kai had always disliked a despicable person like General Sun who played tricks behind his back. Since that was the case, how could he let him go? Chapter 417. No, Sect Leader Wang, you've misunderstood. I wouldn't dare to frame you. It was Dongfang Xian who forced me. General Sun kowtowed and cupped his fists as he begged for mercy. He looked as if he had really been forced. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. General Sun didn't even know how to lie. How could Dongfang Xian know that he was in the Tao God's relic? Since she didn't know, how could she threaten him? I'm heading to the central wilderness. Is there a way to reach there quickly in the eastern wilderness? Wang Kai shrugged and asked indifferently. Go to the central wilderness? General Sun was stunned, but he quickly understood. With Wang Kai's current situation, it was indeed impossible for him to survive in the eastern wilderness. However, even if he went to the central wilderness, he wouldn't be able to change his predicament. Could it be that he didn't know that the East Emperor was a prince with a different surname in the heavenly court of the central wilderness? Even if he was a prince with a different surname, the power he possessed was definitely not low in the central wilderness. If Dongfang Xian found out about it in that place, he would probably die even faster than in the eastern wilderness. Thinking of this, General Sun's eyes flashed with disdain. He thought that Wang Kai was a hothead who had just entered the Eight Wilderness. He didn't even know about these things that everyone knew. There is only one formation platform in the eastern wilderness that can reach the central wilderness. General Sun said respectfully. Only one? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. There was no information about going to the central wilderness in the memories of his true spirit clone. However, he was extremely clear about the various forces in the eastern wilderness. Are you talking about the Eastern Royal Court or the first-grade force, the Celestial Master Residence? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked playfully. He actually knew about the two strongest forces in the eastern wilderness? Yet, he didn't know about the formation platform? General Sun was stunned for a moment. He couldn't figure out whether Wang Kai was being rash or asking the obvious. Could it be that he was intentionally giving him a chance to live? Does he want me to please him? General Sun's eyes immediately shone brightly when he thought of that. He immediately said with even more respect, yes and no. The Master of the Celestial Exalt Manor and Sir Dongwang are both kings of the heavenly court of the Central Wastelands. The only formation that leads from the Eastern Wastelands to the Central Wastelands is managed by both organizations. Apart from the Master of the Celestial Exalt Manor and the Master of the Celestial Exalt Manor, anyone who wants to use it needs the permission of the Master of the Celestial Exalt Manor and the Master of the Eastern Exalt Manor. Eastern Royal Court, Celestial Master Residence, 2 first-grade forces. They were in charge of the formation that led to the Central Desolate together. If he wanted to use it, he would have to get their approval first. Wasn't that the same as saying nothing? Not to mention the Celestial Master, who he had yet to meet, the Eastern Sovereign would definitely kill him if he saw him due to his relationship with Dongfang Xian. Thinking of this, Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened, and he glared at him fiercely. However, he saw that he was pleasantly surprised and expectant. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and asked curiously, "What are you happy about? And what are you looking forward to?" Swoosh. As soon as he heard this, General Sun's face stiffened. His eyes widened as he looked at Wang Kai in disbelief. He asked tentatively, "Sect Leader Wang, I've answered your question truthfully. Don't you plan to let me go?" Bang. Wah. Suddenly, Wang Kai lifted his leg and kicked General Sun until he spat out blood and flew backward. Once again, he slammed heavily into the mountain wall. His face became even paler, and even his aura became extremely weak. It was as though he would die at any moment. When did I say that I would let you go? Answering this sect master's question will only allow you to live a little longer. You should know that anyone who dares to frame me, even the Eastern Sovereign and the Celestial Master Residence's mansion master will lose their heads. Wang Kai said with a cold smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. This. You. General Sun instantly felt extreme despair when he heard this. Never had he imagined that Wang Kai didn't intend to let him go at all. From the beginning until the end, it was he who'd taken things for granted. Needless to say, when one encountered a life-and-death crisis, one's thoughts were usually strange. Don't encounter me in your next life. I'll notify the king of hell about this. Right, I'll let him reincarnate you into a pig so that he won't let down that stupid brain of yours. Wang Kai spoke with a rather disdainful expression on his face. As soon as he finished speaking, he flipped his palm and slapped forward. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 4th rank Downlord realm. Bang! Crack! Along with a green palm strike flying over, General Sun's body was instantly blasted apart, and it transformed into a rain of blood that sprayed towards the surroundings. That Dongfang Xian will definitely not leave the Heaven Reverse region for now. If she utilizes her cultivation to soar through the sky, then it would probably be impossible for me to escape with her ability at the Tao God realm. I need a carriage that doesn't require her to utilize her cultivation. Right. Wang Kai pondered for a short while before his eyes suddenly lit up, and his brows eased up. After that, Wang Kai activated the system store with his will, and he directly selected the list of precious treasures and artifacts. He was immediately overjoyed when he saw the dazzling lineup of precious treasures and artifacts within it. Early on when he was in Fan Province, he knew that there were countless treasures within the system store. However, he hadn't utilized them at that time, and there was truly no need for him to utilize them. But now it would probably be impossible for him to travel through the world without utilizing them. He could only blame his true spirit clone for being too good at causing trouble. Whose fire rod am I? Dumbstruck gauntlets? Obedient to the brain pill? Striptease earrings? F***CK. Wang Kai's eyes immediately bulged when he saw the list. In particular, the special abilities of the precious treasures and artifacts left Wang Kai speechless. For example, the whose fire rod am I? As long as one was hit by this rod, one would definitely lose their memories and not even know who they were. The dumbstruck gauntlets were even more evil. With a single punch, one would definitely beat the opponent until they couldn't take care of themselves. What left Wang Kai even more astonished was the striptease earrings. As long as one wore it, they would definitely think about taking off their clothes at all times. Looking at the other precious treasures and artifacts in the system store, they were all extremely strange and bizarre. Moreover, their abilities were also extremely powerful. There were all kinds of them, and they were endless in number. Flying to your side card restriction jade plate? Wang Kai's eyes suddenly narrowed. He hurriedly clicked on the details of the restriction jade plate's abilities. With one look, he couldn't help but shake his head and sigh in disappointment. No matter when or where, it can reach any place. However, the prerequisite is that a person's blood essence must be dripped into it. No matter where that person is, it can instantly reach them. No wonder it's called flying to your side card restriction jade plate. He originally thought that he could directly go to the central wilderness through the restriction jade butterfly. Now, it seemed that he could only give up on that idea. The ever-changing fan can transform into thousands of weapon forms. It is indestructible. The heavens cannot destroy it, and the earth cannot bury it. It is the hardest item in the universe. Other than being sturdy, it has no other abilities. The ice-flying sword requires the host to cultivate the way of ice. It can travel millions of miles in a day. Wherever it passes, it will be covered in frost, just like winter. Chapter 4:18. Looking at the various treasures and artifacts in the system store, Wang Kai immediately felt a surge of pride. He immediately stood up, waved his arm, and laughed loudly. Who is this sect master afraid of now? Who else is invincible? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. Obtained 100,000 experience. 100 bragging points. Hee, if that little girl Dongfang Xian dares to come, I'll give her a stick first. Wang Kai grinned and laughed softly. Obtain the ever-changing fan and icy flying sword. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the ever-changing fan. Consumed 1,000 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the icy flying sword. Consumed 500 bragging points. Host, Wang Kai. Occupation, martial artist, talisman cultivator, formation cultivator. Auxiliary occupation, alchemist. Realm, 4th grade Taoist lord. Cultivation technique, beast taming. Tao, pill codex, spirit codex. Divine ability, luck deprivation technique, soul manipulation technique. Equipment, Tower of Babel, 9 dragon cauldron, god punishing brush, myriad formation. Seal diagram, ever-changing fan, icy flying sword. Bloodline, 10th grade. Bragging points, 5, 230 experience, 13000200000. Give me another Who Am I brand fire burning stick. Wang Kai urged. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the ever-changing fan. Consumed 100 bragging points. Only 100 bragging points? Hearing the notification, Wang Kai's expression suddenly froze. He hurriedly flipped his hand and took out the fire rod. Looking at the 6 feet long black wooden rod in his palm, a string of information appeared in his mind. The ever-changing fan will lose its memory for a month. Can only be used once. Can only be used once. 100 bragging points per use. Only then did Wang Kai come to a realization. No wonder it was so cheap. But in the next moment, he was shocked. He quickly put away the fire stick and took out the 1,000 transformations fan and the icy flying sword. In his left hand, he held a golden fan. He opened it with a click and saw the words, "I'm originally dissolute," written on it. In his right hand, he held an ice longsword that was completely made of ice. Waves of cold air spread out, causing the surrounding mountains and trees to be covered in a layer of frost. Fortunately, these 2 types of magical artifacts are permanent. Wang Kai heaved a sigh of relief. If he had used 1,000 bragging points to purchase a one-time use treasure, wouldn't he have to brag until he vomited blood before he could afford it? However, this also made Wang Kai understand that among the treasures in the system shop, there were permanent ones and one-time ones. Transform this sect master into a supreme body. Yes, I will choose this supreme body physique, called the 9-5 Supreme Body. You are barely qualified to be used by this sect master. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a casual smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations on breaking through and attaining the 5th rank Downlord realm. Congratulations to host for successfully cultivating the 9-5 Sovereign Physique Tao Art. 2,000 bragging points have been consumed. Congratulations to host for successfully advancing the Spirit Physique into the Supreme Body Physique. Unlocking the summoning function. Host, Wang Kai. Professions, martial artist, talisman cultivator, formation cultivator. Auxiliary professions, alchemist. Realm, 5th rank Daolord Tao Arts, beast controlling Tao, pill scripture, spirit scripture. Divine abilities, karmic luck deprivation technique, soul control technique. Equipment, sky split tower, 9 dragon cauldron, god execution brush, myriad formation restriction diagram, shapeshifting fan, ice flying sword. Bloodline, level 10 physique, 9-5 supreme body. Guardian beasts. None bragging points. 3, 230 experience. 30000200000 inch host. The summoning function requires you to plant a soul imprint on the target in order to successfully summon the target. Moreover, the soul imprint won't be noticed. You just have to approach the target and touch it. Host, a successfully summoned target can only be ordered to assist you in fighting your enemies. Wang Kai's brows instantly raised when he heard this, and then he hurriedly and carefully looked through the requirements for using the summoning function. So, if I want to summon a target, I need to plant my soul imprint on the target? As long as I get close to the target and successfully touch it, I can plant my soul imprint without anyone noticing? Wang Kai stroked his chin and had a strange expression on his face. Especially the new message of Guardian Beasts on the system page. It must be the target that I successfully planted my soul imprint on, right? However, after thinking about it, Wang Kai directly ignored it. What kind of joke was this? How could it be so easy to get close to and touch a powerful target? Why would he need to use a weak target as his guardian beast to fight his enemies? Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain and waved the ice-flying sword. He immediately smiled faintly and said, "The way of ice was created by me hundreds of millions of years ago. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the way of ice. Cultivate the sky-sealing ice skill," Wang Kai said in his mind. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the superpower sky-sealing ice skill. 300 bragging points have been consumed. Swoosh. Immediately after, Wang Kai waved his hand and threw the flying ice sword into the air. With a flip of his body, he stepped on the flying ice sword with one hand behind his back and the other holding the golden folding fan. With a click, he opened the fan and said with a faint smile, "Ice heaven sealing technique." Buzz. Swoosh. Suddenly, ice appeared around Wang Kai's body. His long black hair was covered with frost and turned pale white. His eyebrows were also snow white. What surprised Wang Kai even more was that the surrounding void was also covered with frost. It was as if there was an ice road in the air. "Boy, what were you doing just now? Why did you suddenly have so many supreme treasures and weapons? And when did you start cultivating the way of ice?" Cat was dumbstruck by this scene from within Skysplit Tower. At this moment, he couldn't help but ask this question. Wang Kai's mysteries were too unbelievable. The Tao of Heaven's secrets, the Tao of karmic luck, the Tao of beast control, and the Tao of ice. Cultivating 4 Taos at the same time. Such ability was something that only the extraordinary geniuses of the world could accomplish. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this, and then he lightly fanned himself and smiled in a rather casual manner. "Haha, Ben Shao is the Lord of the Universe. Oh no, he should be the Lord of Creation. All sorts of supreme treasures, weapons, divine abilities, and techniques were created by Ben Shao. It's merely superficial ability that isn't worth mentioning. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 6th rank Downlord realm." Cat's mouth and eyes twitched as he listened, and he forcefully stroked his beard. He couldn't be bothered to ask any more questions. If he wasn't unable to restrain himself, he would truly be unwilling to speak with Wang Kai. Once he spoke with Chen Shi, he would definitely listen to Chen Shi bragging. Right, big stupid cat, set up some cultivation tests within Skysplit Tower. Let Kuang Shi, Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others cultivate. If they bring shame to the heavenly sect in the future, then wouldn't they be letting down an exalted figure like me, the sect master? Wang Kai had a rather indifferent expression as he spoke with a smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. After that, Wang Kai flipped his hand and tossed life-chasing Tao God's inheritance pearl into Skysplit Tower. With Cat here, Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others would definitely be able to attain the most perfect cultivation. Everything is ready. Eastern Emperor Domain, Eastern Emperor Court, Exalted Celestial Mansion. I'm coming. Heavenly Court of Central Wasteland, Celestial Emperor of Central Wasteland, wait for me. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly as he chuckled lightly, and then he stepped on the ice-flying sword and transformed into a ray of flowing light that shot straight towards the Eastern Emperor domain. Everywhere he passed, he was covered in frost while the temperature plummeted. A path covered in ice shockingly condensed in midair and stretched out without end. Chapter 419. Eastern Emperor Domain, Imperial City. After traveling for an entire 3 months, Wang Kai had finally arrived at the Imperial City. He stood on his ice sword as he looked down at the people in the city below, and he was rather surprised in his heart. It could be said that no one in the city was inferior to the Godrank realm. Even the weakest was at the Godrank realm. Even the attendants in the restaurants and teahouses possessed cultivations at the Godrank realm. There were even many experts amongst them whose auras even Wang Kai was unable to see through. Such circumstances proved that those experts weren't at the Dao realm. They were at a level above the Dao realm. Could it be that they're all at the Exalt realm? There are actually so many Exalt realm experts in the world? Wang Kai's brows knit together, and he felt that the gap between his cultivation and theirs was simply too great. Within Skysplit Tower, Cat stroked his beard when he heard this, and he laughed with ridicule. There's only a single Exalt in the Eastern Wilderness, and he isn't in the Imperial City. As for those people, they're far from attaining the Exalt realm. They haven't attained the Exalt realm? Wang Kai was stunned when he heard this. In this way, the level above the Dao realm isn't as simple as just the Exalt realm, and there's definitely other realms. Why has it suddenly become so cold? Right, what exactly is going on with such cold temperatures? Could it be that someone's cultivating an ice divine ability? Wait, quickly look up there. Who's that young man? He's definitely not standing on an ordinary precious treasure or magic artifact. This young man definitely cultivates in the Tao of Ice, and he's utilizing an ice divine ability as well. All the experts raised their heads to look at Wang Kai, and all the experts below the Tao King realm were frozen to the point of shivering from the aura of ice. On the other hand, the experts above the Tao King realm weren't really affected. With Wang Kai's current cultivation at the Tao Lord realm and his 10th grade bloodline, it was sufficient for him to shake the Tao King realm, but he was unable to shake the Tao King realm experts. However, his natural talent and natural endowment is still too weak. Based on the might of his Tao of Ice, he's probably at the Tao Emperor realm, and he can barely be considered to be a genius of a 4th grade power. As for a 3rd grade power, he's just an ordinary disciple. A Tao Emperor spoke indifferently. There was another Tao Emperor beside him. He nodded and said, "That's right. I wonder where this young man came from. He dares to display his martial Tao so openly in East Royal City. But why is he fanning himself? Wasn't he cultivating the Tao of Ice? Is he hot?" Behind the 2 Tao Emperors, there was a 13-14-year-old boy. He raised his head and looked at Wang Kai curiously as he asked. In response, the 2 Tao Emperors looked at each other and shook their heads speechlessly. They didn't reply. What else could it be? Wasn't he just acting tough? In an inn, there were a few young men drinking with each other by the window. When they noticed that Wang Kai's mere ability at the Tao King realm had drawn the attention of so many people, they instantly started laughing coldly with displeasure in their hearts. Shockingly, the cultivations of those young men were at the peak of the Tao Emperor realm. They were even a realm higher than Wang Kai's overall combat strength. Those are the outer court disciples of the exalted Celestial Mansion. Alas, the exalted Celestial Mansion really deserves to be a 1st grade power. Even their outer court disciples have attained the peak of the Tao Emperor realm. We're truly ashamed. The Tao Emperor shook his head and sighed. The other Tao emperors sighed in their hearts in a rather lonely manner as well. Even though they were at the Tao emperor realm and were superior to those outer court disciples, their ages couldn't be compared at all. The peak of the Tao emperor realm was the next realm after the peak of the Tao emperor realm. Moreover, those outer court disciples were so young, and they were only a little over 20 years old. So, surpassing them was only a matter of time. I possess a myriad of Tao arts, yet only the Tao of fire and the Tao of ice can't coexist at the same time. So, I had no choice but to act in this way. I never expected that it would draw the envy, jealousy, and hatred of some nobodies. How sad, how sad! Wang Kai smiled with a rather indifferent expression. He had one hand behind his back while the other fanned himself lightly. His white clothes and white hair fluttered with the wind, and he seemed rather elegant and extraordinary. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 7th rank Tao Lord realm. Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, those young men instantly frowned coldly at him, and their faces were covered in ridicule as they laughed incessantly. A mere ant at the Tao King realm dares to act so presumptuously before us. Looks like you probably just arrived at Eastern Emperor City from that barren area, right? Haha. Quickly get the fuck down here and kowtow to admit your wrongdoings. Perhaps we'll spare your life. Exactly. Young people should know how to keep a low profile when they cultivate. Those young men ridiculed Chen Shi without end, and it caused all the experts below to watch with interest. As far as they were concerned, those outer court disciples of the exalted celestial mansion were telling the truth. If a mere Tao king hadn't just arrived at Eastern Emperor City, how could he possibly be so arrogant as to reveal the Tao he cultivated? Could it be that he isn't afraid of courting humiliation? No matter what, the humiliation had already arrived in the current situation. All of you are quite good at acting. You speak as if all of you are very old. You actually dare to act so presumptuously before this sect master? Are all of you prepared to hang your heads on your pants? Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. As he spoke, his figure had gradually drifted into the inn. Crack! As Wang Kai put away the flying sword with a flip of his hand, the icy cold aura still hadn't vanished, and it covered the tables and chairs in the inn with a layer of frost. Senior Brotherly, leave this kid to me. A short young man stood up, and under the nod of the other young men, he walked towards Wang Kai with his bare hands. Kid, my name is Bai Shi, and I'm an outer court disciple of the exalted celestial mansion. As for my cultivation level, I'm at the peak of the Tao King realm. If you kneel on the ground, kowtow, admit your mistake, and break one of your arms, I can spare your life. Bai Shi smiled proudly as he walked towards Wang Kai. He raised his head and looked coldly at him. Wang Kai's face instantly darkened when he saw the short young man in front of him. He didn't say anything and directly slapped him. Slap. Bang. Suddenly, the short young man seemed as if he was struck by lightning, and his body was immediately slapped to the ground. The scarlet palm print on his face caused his eyes to turn red. He never expected that Wang Kai would actually attack him directly. He clearly knew that their cultivation levels weren't on the same level, but he still dared to attack? Was he really not afraid of death? You're too good at showing off. A mere trash at the Tao Emperor realm dares to make a fuss before this sect master? If I don't slap you, then it would be a waste of your lowly status. Wang Kai had a rather disdainful expression as he laughed coldly, and then he flipped his hand and waved it. Divine power, fortune deprivation technique. More than 1,000,000 words. Thank you all for your support and love. QQ Discussion Group 3260775524. Welcome to the group. Chapter 420. Buzz. As a huge white mist arm appeared, balls of 5-colored light appeared above the heads of the few young men. Some were big and some were small, but there was not much difference between them. This is the path of Providence. Providence superpower. He has cultivated the path of Providence. No one in the entire eastern wilderness has cultivated the path of Providence. Who is he? Is he a genius from the central wilderness? What kind of genius is he? If he is from the central wilderness, why is his cultivation level so low? Many onlooking experts were extremely surprised. Their eyes were filled with fanaticism as they stared at Wang Kai. It was as though Wang Kai was a beautiful woman. Smack! Bang! The white mist arm stretched out and instantly grasped the luck of the youths, causing them to fall to the ground after losing their luck. Some of them even fell out of the inn's windows. You should release our Providence. We are the outer disciples of the Holy Master Mansion. Aren't you afraid that the Holy Master Mansion will punish you? The short young man shouted in fear. Although there were no cultivators in the eastern wilderness who had successfully cultivated Providence, they had heard of the path of Providence. If one's Providence could not be recovered, accidents would happen even if one walked or ate normally. It was highly possible that one would die. Weren't all of you acting tough just now? Why aren't you acting tough now? Are you scared? F*CKU. Why don't you open your eyes when you go out? Am I someone you can provoke? Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. He immediately activated his mind power. Buzz. Smack. In the blink of an eye, the short youth's ball of Providence was crushed by the white misty palm. No. Plop. The moment the Providence dissipated, the short young man screamed. His head tilted strangely, and he died on the spot. When the young men saw this, despair filled their eyes and their faces turned pale. He's dead? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked surprised. He didn't expect that when all the luck was taken away and scattered, it would directly cause the target's death. What made Wang Kai even more speechless was that there was no EXP reward for killing by depriving Providence. However, when he thought about it, it made sense. Stripping one's karmic luck was not directly killing them. Instead, one would die in a strange way. The Tao of Providence is truly heaven-defying. According to rumor, even in the central wilderness, there are extremely few cultivators that possess the karmic Tao. Moreover, all of them are distinguished guests of the central wilderness imperial court. I didn't expect that there would be a cultivator who successfully cultivated the path of Providence in the eastern wilderness. It seems like the Eastern Royal Court and the Celestial Master Residence are going to fight over the Celestial Master Residence. Many cultivators exclaimed in admiration. Although their eyes were burning, they wanted to take Wang Kai away. However, it was impossible to do so in the East Royal City under the noses of the two first-grade forces. No one dared to. When Wang Kai heard the whispers of the crowd, he couldn't help but squint his eyes. He didn't expect the path of Providence to be so popular. How could one possess such a high status in the central wilderness imperial court? Patter. Wang Kai shrugged. With one hand behind his back, he opened the folding fan with the other hand and gently fanned himself. With a mocking smile on his face, he said, "Do the few of you admit your mistakes?" Swoosh. The outer disciples of the Celestial Master Mansion immediately got up and knelt on the ground. Just as they were about to kowtow and admit their mistakes, they were so unlucky that they fell directly to the ground. Some of them even hit their heads on the ground. All right. Look at how weak all of you are. I don't even want to bother with all of you. Get lost. Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. With a flip of his hand, he returned the balls of karmic luck to them. Swoosh. Swoosh. When the karmic luck returned to them, the few young men looked at each other and wiped the cold sweat off their foreheads. Their faces were filled with horror as they fled. Little friend, may I know your name? Where are you from? Which sect are you from? Do you have a master? Many powerhouses stepped forward and cupped their fists in greeting. Among them, there were many powerhouses above the Tao realm. Even though they had surpassed the Tao realm, they were still respectful to Wang Kai at this moment. It was as though they were looking at a peerless treasure. Wang Kai naturally knew that it was because of the karmic luck Tao. However, he did not understand that the karmic luck Tao could deprive others of their karmic luck. It was true that the karmic luck Tao could help him fight against his enemies, but what use was it to them? My name is Wang Kai. I'm the sect leader of the Discord sect. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled casually. The sect leader of the Discord sect? Wang Kai. When the crowd heard this, they were stunned. Their expressions changed drastically. All of them widened their eyes and looked at Wang Kai in disbelief. You're Wang Kai? That, ahem. Wang Kai who offended the eldest princess? Ah. In that case, he looks very similar to the portrait that the eldest princess ordered. But shouldn't his hair be black? His eyebrows are not white either. When Wang Kai heard this, he frowned. He could not help but think of the time when he was chased by Dongfang Xian. He was furious. If he met her again, he would definitely hang her up and beat her up. Humph, this sect master has never changed his name. He is Wang Kai. 2 years ago, I came from the central wilderness and happened to exchange pointers with Dongfang Xian, who knew that she could not afford to lose and insisted on having a duel with me. I was so annoyed that I could only avoid her. However, who would have thought that she, the Grand Chief Princess of the East Royal Kingdom, would call me a perverted thief? Everyone, do you think that I need to be a perverted thief because I have the karmic luck Tao? Wang Kai snorted angrily. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. As soon as this remark came out, it immediately caused many cultivators to frown. What Wang Kai said was indeed correct. Cultivators who had the karmic luck Tao had a noble status in the central wilderness. There was not a single one in the eastern wilderness. Moreover, Wang Kai was young and handsome. If he wanted women, wouldn't there be many who would volunteer to sleep with him? If that's the case, why did you run away, sect leader Wang? That's right. Didn't you say that you defeated the eldest princess in a duel? Also, why did the female disciples from the other regions say that you're a perverted thief? Faced with everyone's doubts, Wang Kai could not help but twitch his mouth. Sometimes it was really difficult to lie. However, since he had already said it, how could it not be perfect? How could he let go of such a great opportunity to clear his name and smear Dongfang Xian's reputation? Thinking about this, Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. Everyone, you don't know. Back then, I was only at the divine ability realm. I relied on the karmic luck Tao to defeat Dongfang Xian, but my injuries were quite severe. I had no choice but to run for my life. Unfortunately, she, the dignified Eastern Imperial Court princess, used some unknown method to make the female disciples of the various forces collude with her to murder me. Swoosh. When these words were spoken, everyone immediately came to a realization. However, at the same time, they looked at Wang Kai with even more suspicion. Even if he cultivated the karmic luck Tao, he could actually defeat Dongfang Xian, who was at the divine ability realm. Looks like sect leader Wang has already cultivated the karmic luck Tao to the point of perfection. An old man above the Tao realm stroked his beard and sighed. At the same time, many experts chimed in one after another. However, in their hearts, there were very few who believed Wang Kai's nonsense. What a joke! At the divine ability realm, even if one cultivated the karmic luck Tao, it was impossible to defeat a Tao God realm expert. Now that he believed in Wang Kai, he was just doing him a favor. Little did they know that whether it was on the surface or sincere trust, Wang Kai did not care. As long as they said that they believed him, it was fine. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 100, and when it spread throughout the entire eastern wilderness, how many people would know whether it was true or false? Chapter 421. Of course, the Tao of karmic luck that I cultivate has indeed attained the transformative realm. Even if I face Exalted Huang, I'm still capable of going against him, and it wouldn't be difficult for me to defeat him. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather indifferent expression. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 8th rank of the Tao Lord realm. Everyone. They truly hadn't expected that Wang Kai was actually so good at bragging, and every single word he spoke was so arrogant and frivolous. If it wasn't out of consideration for the Tao of karmic luck that he possessed, they would have probably killed him on the spot. With the exalted celestial mansion and Eastern Imperial Court here, the experts of the various powers naturally didn't dare to exceed their authority to rope in Wang Kai. Now, they were fawning over Wang Kai like this for the sake of getting closer to him. Even if they couldn't take him for themselves, they could get to know him and ask for his help. Haha. Brother Wang is really humorous. I'm the Crown Prince of the Eastern Imperial Court, Dongfang Mo. I'm fortunate enough to witness the Tao of karmic luck, and it's truly the fortune of 3 lifetimes. Along with this light laughter, a young man in a golden robe walked slowly up to the 2nd floor of the inn. Just like Wang Kai, he held a golden folding fan, had an extraordinarily handsome appearance, and even though his bearing seemed to be warm, his eyes still carried a strand of innate pressure. The Crown Prince of the Eastern Imperial Court. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly when he saw this, and he sensed his cultivation. He noticed to his surprise that he was at the Tao God realm just like Dongfang Xian. Moreover, he was a direct line descendant of the Eastern Imperial Court as well. Yet now, he just happened to have taken the initiative to make friends with Wang Kai, and Wang Kai couldn't help but feel amused in his heart. So it's the Crown Prince. Forgive me for not going out to greet you. However, Crown Prince, don't try to show off. You're the dignified Crown Prince of the Eastern Imperial Court, yet you've actually never seen the Tao of karmic luck? Could it be that you haven't been to the Central Wastelands? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather playful expression. Swoosh. These words immediately caused the expressions of many cultivators to stiffen. Dongfang Mo's expression was also startled. He did not expect that Wang Kai would actually use such a tone to speak. What infuriated Crown Prince Dongfang Mo even more was that last sentence. If he had been to the Central Wilderness, would he still need to say that he had never seen the Tao of Fate? Furthermore, Wang Kai had claimed that he came from the Central Wasteland and possessed the Great Path of Luck. Thus, no one would doubt his origin. However, it was precisely because of this that his words earlier were ridiculing Dongfang Mo for never having been to the Central Wasteland. In other words, was there any difference between being ignorant and not seeing the world? Little did he know that Wang Kai was unaware of the twists and turns in this matter. He believed that the Crown Prince of the Eastern Imperial Court must have been to the Central Desolate. Haha, there's something that Royal Brother doesn't know. Without reaching the Venerable Realm, Royal Father will not allow anyone to set foot in the Central Wasteland. Dongfang Mo explained with a smile on his face. However, his heart was extremely cold. Wang Kai's words were obviously meant to humiliate him. However, he had no choice but to explain himself. Not reaching the Venerable Realm? So, the Venerable Realm was the level above the Tao Realm? Wang Kai's eyes slightly flickered as he thought to himself. This Crown Prince most likely wanted to befriend him for the Tao of Fate. This was a good opportunity to see what they wanted to do with the Tao of Fate. What other uses did the Tao of Fate have? Oh, it's my fault. If I didn't have a grudge with Princess Ziyan, I would definitely be able to become good friends with the Crown Prince. What a pity, what a pity. Wang Kai pretended to be sad as he shook his head and sighed. Such words immediately made Dongfang Mo's eyes brighten. He originally thought that it would be troublesome, but he didn't expect that the other party would also want to befriend him. Looks like the geniuses of the Central Wilderness are only SOSO, Dongfang Mo sneered disdainfully in his heart. He thought that Wang Kai was doing this because he was interested in his status as the crown prince of the Eastern Imperial Court. Hee, Brother Wang, you must be joking. There must be some misunderstanding between you and Sister Ziyan. Since we are good friends, I naturally have to resolve this misunderstanding for you, Dongfang Mo said with a smile, directly calling Wang Kai a good friend. Wang Kai naturally didn't refuse such intimate words. It was better to say that he had the same intention. Since Brother Dongfang is so righteous, it would seem that I'm narrow-minded if I don't respect you. Why don't we find a place to have a drink? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and said with a playful smile. Dongfang Mo's eyes lit up when he heard this. He immediately moved to the side and gestured with a smile. Brother Wang, please. Ha ha ha, how can I, Lan Jiuyo, miss out on such a banquet? Swoosh. Suddenly, an extremely heroic laughter rang out, causing Dongfang Mo to furrow his brows tightly. Many cultivators also had a strange expression on their faces. They stood quietly in the distance as though they were watching a good show. Dongfang Mo's face turned uglier when a burly young man in black leather armor with a rough face entered the second floor of the inn. Lan Jiuyo, I heard that you wanted to go into seclusion to make a breakthrough to the honorable realm. Now that you have appeared here, you must have failed to make a breakthrough again, right? Dongfang Mo said with a cold smile. His previous gentle demeanor had completely disappeared and was replaced by a murderous look. Many cultivators didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. Dongfang Mo was the crown prince of the Eastern Imperial Court and the leader of the younger generation. Lan Jiuyo was the young mansion master of the Holy Master Mansion and the leader of the younger generation. He was also at the peak of the Tao God realm. The two of them were mortal enemies. It could be said that they had to fight each other when they met. Haha, Dongfang coward, you are right. I have indeed failed to make a breakthrough again. If I count, it should be the 179th time. However, it is still better than some trash who doesn't even dare to make a breakthrough. He is afraid that he will fail and embarrass himself. TSK, he is just like a coward. Ha! Lan Jiuyo laughed out loud. There was no dejection, shame or anger on his face. Instead, he felt that it was an honorable thing to fail to make a breakthrough. This person's character was very magnanimous. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and laughed secretly. He simply stood aside without saying a word. He wanted to see how far the two of them could go. Lan Jiuyo, today I still want to drink with Brother Wang. I will not be calculative with you. Humph. Dongfang Mo's eyes were cold as he snorted. In the blink of an eye, he looked at Wang Kai and extended his hand with a smile. Brother Wang, let's go. Wait, why should we go? Dongfang Mo, I am not here to fight with you today. I am here to invite Brother Wang to the Holy Master Mansion for a chat. Lan Jiuyo raised his thick eyebrows and stared. He came in front of Wang Kai with a chuckle. He even raised his arm intentionally and knocked Dongfang Mo back by half a step. You, Lan Jiuyo, do you really want to fight with me? Dongfang Mo was furious. He raised his arm and punched Lan Jiuyo. Lan Jiuyo's eyes suddenly turned cold. He turned around and punched Dongfang Mo bang. 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 Both of them took a few steps back when their fists collided. Their strength was on par with each other. Chapter 422. So what if we have a fight? I, Lan Jiuyo, have always been fond of fighting. I am looking for an opportunity to break through. Lan Jiuyo laughed. Looking for an opportunity to break through? If it was so useful, he wouldn't have failed to break through 179 times, right? Dongfang Mo despised Lan Jiu. Although he wasn't afraid of fighting with Lan Jiu, it was more important to rope in Wang Kai. If he could make use of the path of providence, it wouldn't be difficult for him to break through to the honorable realm. Thinking of this, Dongfang Mo said coldly, Lan Jiu, I don't have time to be calculative with you today. If you want to fight, I will accompany you at any time. Haha, do you think we won't fight just because you said so? All right, I will entertain Brother Wang. There is no need for your highness to worry about it. Lan Jiu shrugged and laughed. You? Dongfang Mo's eyes darkened. He didn't expect Lan Jiu to be so unreasonable. If Wang Kai really went to the Holy Master Mansion, wouldn't Lan Jiu break through to the honorable realm soon? Both of them were old enemies. How could such a thing be allowed to happen? Brother Wang, my name is Lan Jiu. I am the young mansion master of the Holy Master Mansion. I have just received news from Junior Sister Gu, so I am here to invite Brother Wang to the Holy Master Mansion. Lan Jiu cupped his fist and smiled. Junior Sister Gu invited him? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard that. He couldn't help but recall quickly in his mind. However, after thinking for a long time, he couldn't find any connection between the spiritual avatar and the Holy Master Mansion. Initially, he thought it must be the spiritual avatar that caused the trouble. Now, it seemed that it wasn't the case. Junior Sister Gu? God, could it be the Holy Lady of the Holy Master Mansion? It must be. The Mansion Master of the Holy Master Mansion has never accepted any disciples. His only successor is his son, Lan Jiu. However, 2 years ago, he accepted a lady as his disciple. It is rumored that the lady's talent isn't outstanding. However, she is very powerful in array restriction. She is also the Mansion Master and the Deputy Mansion Master of the Holy Master Mansion at the same time. Her identity has become the Holy Lady of the Holy Master Mansion. Many cultivators began to whisper into each other's ears as they discussed. Lan Jiu, on the other hand, was not very touched by this. On the other hand, a thick love flashed across Dongfang Mo's eyes. Since it's Miss Gu's invitation, Brother Wang should go. However, this crown prince also wants to go. Dongfang Mo smiled faintly. Everyone had a strange expression on their faces when they heard this. They knew that Dongfang Mo liked the ancient goddess. However, he did not expect Dongfang Mo to like him so much that he was willing to share something as important as the path of providence with him. On the other hand, Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. He couldn't help but ask doubtfully, who is this Junior Gu that Brother Lan is talking about? Could it be that he knows this sect master? Although this sect master is popular in the world and often attracts the admiration of thousands of beauties, Ben Shao has never looked at any of them. Therefore, I ask Brother Lan to introduce them. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the corners of everyone's mouths twitched violently. Even Lan Jiu and Dongfang Mo turned pale. They did not expect Wang Kai to be so good at bragging. Brother Wang, the Holy Lady of the Celestial Master Mansion is my future crown princess. Please watch your words. Dongfang Mo said in a low voice. The killing intent in his eyes was extremely strong. Lan Jiu snorted and said in a slightly cold tone, Brother Wang, Junior Gu is the Holy Lady of the Celestial Master Mansion. She is also the face of the Celestial Master Mansion. Such a scene and such words caused Wang Kai to raise his eyebrows. Looking at the two of them, it seemed that they liked the ancient goddess very much. Could it be that this was the reason for their hatred? Haha, both of you don't have to worry. It's useless even if the ancient goddess admires me. Just as I said earlier, there aren't many women in the world who can catch my eye. So, both of you don't have to worry. This sect master won't fight for her with the both of you. Wang Kai shrugged and acted as if he was very loyal. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 9th rank of the Downlord realm. Swoosh. On the other hand, Dongfang Mo and Lan Jiu's expressions were shockingly livid to the extreme, and they didn't conceal the killing intent in their eyes any longer as they glared at Wang Kai. No matter how good their tempers were, they would still go mad after their bottom line was touched. Not to mention that Wang Kai's words were really infuriating. Lan Jiu, this crown prince thinks that we should put the matter between us aside for now. Let's bring this kid to the exalted celestial mansion first and utilize his Tao of karmic luck to assist us in breaking through into the exalt realm. Alright? Dongfang Mo spoke coldly. Lan Jiu nodded lightly when he heard this, and then he glared at Wang Kai with an icy cold gaze as he said in a low voice, "That's exactly what I was thinking. A mere ant from the countryside dares to pretend to be someone from the central wilderness, and he even doesn't know what's good for him. Since it's useless to give him face, then there's no need to show mercy." Wang Kai is finished now. Everyone shook their heads and sighed in their hearts while a wisp of ridicule appeared in their eyes. All the cultivators present here naturally didn't have the courage to coerce Wang Kai. After all, the Eastern Imperial Court and exalted Celestial Mansion were superior to them. However, Lan Jiu and Dongfang Mo were different. The powers they belonged to were at the peak of the Eastern Wilderness, so they didn't have to fear anything at all. If they couldn't negotiate amicably, then they were entirely capable of utilizing force. In this regard, Wang Kai naturally knew very well. He dared to be so arrogant because he was certain that they couldn't do anything to him. After all, they still needed the path of providence that he had cultivated. Now, he somewhat understood their purpose. Did they want to use the path of providence to break through to the exalted realm? However, how could the path of providence help a cultivator to break through to the next realm? Aren't the two of you too good at acting tough? I'm so strong that I can smash the heavens into pieces just by straightening my back. With just the two of you in the Tao God realm, don't tell me you want to become dregs? Wang Kai had one hand behind his back while the other hand was gently fanning himself. He looked extremely leisurely. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Arrogant! What nonsense are you talking about? Capture him and bring him to Miss Gu. Swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, Lan Jiu and Dongfang Mo flipped their palms and grabbed onto Wang Kai's left and right shoulders. Absolute Rebound Divine Shield. Wang Kai activated his thoughts and said, "Congratulations to the host for successfully receiving the Absolute Rebound Divine Shield. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Host, the Absolute Rebound Divine Shield can only be used once." Buzz. Suddenly, a circle of golden light shield appeared around Wang Kai. Lan Jiu and Dongfang Mo, who were attacking him, bent their palms and exploded as if they had been struck by lightning. Their bodies even took a few steps back. Whoosh! As the golden divine shield disappeared, Wang Kai stood proudly, unscathed. He fanned himself and looked at them with a mocking expression. He said with a playful smile, "Even a sovereign expert couldn't withstand one move from me. With your mere Tao God realm cultivation, you're not even ants in my eyes." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the first grade Tao King realm. Chapter 423. Such a scene instantly shocked everyone to the point their eyes bulged out, and they stared at Wang Kai with extremely astounded expressions. No matter how they imagined that two Tao gods would be unable to even defeat a Tao King realm expert? What the hell is going on? Crown Prince Dongfang Mo is the leader of the younger generation in the East Royal Court. Lan Jiuyo is also the leader of the Celestial Master Mansion. Why are they so weak in front of Wang Kai? Isn't he cultivating the Tao of Frost and the Tao of Providence? What kind of Tao skill did he use? Impossible. He is only a Tao king. Even if he cultivated other Tao skills, he is no match for Crown Prince Dongfang Mo and Young Mansion Master Lan Jiu. That's right. That's right. He must have used a dermic weapon to fend off the attack. Many of the top powers looked at Wang Kai fervently. Not only did he possess the Fate Tao, but he also possessed a powerful dermic weapon. With the combat strength of a Tao king, he could render a Tao god helpless. The power of a dermic weapon was evident. Currently, Wang Kai was like a mountain of treasures in the eyes of the crowd. Wang Kai, since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being merciless and breaking your legs, Dongfang Mo said in a deep voice with a pale face. He looked at his shattered palm. Although his flesh and bones were gradually recovering, the pain and humiliation still stimulated him. Lan Jiuyo's face was also cold and terrifying. He was a Tao god and the Young Mansion master of the Celestial Master Mansion. How could his palm be shattered by a Tao king? Your physiques are not weak, right? You can still recover. TSK, aren't you asking for trouble by doing this? Shatter and recover and shatter again. F*CKU. Even if you don't find it troublesome, I can't be bothered to waste my time with you. Wang Kai snorted coldly. He had never thought that their bodies would be able to recover after being shattered. Furthermore, that speed was definitely not slow. In less than 10 breaths, the shattered palm had already recovered completely. Haha, Wang Kai, I have long heard from Junior Sister Gu that you came from the barren immortal martial domain. The strongest physique you have is merely a spiritual body. Since you are still useful, I will tell you that above the spiritual body, there are the saint body and the divine body. And I am the divine body. Lan Jiuyo laughed sinisterly. As the sound of her voice faded, Dongfang Mo's gaze instantly sank. Earlier, he had already sensed that something was amiss. Now that he heard it again, he couldn't help but ask in a low voice, same as Miss Gu, did he come from the immortal martial domain? This Wang Kai actually came from the immortal martial realm. The immortal martial realm is merely a barren land with the strongest experts at the immortal emperor realm. His talent is so weak that he can't even be compared to an ant. How did he manage to successfully cultivate the Tao of Fate? He's actually a liar. You even said that you came from the central wilderness. Humph, as expected of an ignorant cultivator from the countryside. It took him more than 2 years to reach the level of Tao King. His talent is really weak. If he didn't cultivate the Tao of Fate, I'm afraid he wouldn't even be able to reach the level of Tao King, right? Everyone looked at Wang Kai with even more disdain. Their previous thoughts of fawning over him had all been dispelled. In their opinion, Wang Kai had already angered Dongfang Mo and Lan Jiu. Even if he didn't die, he would be reduced to a tool for the Eastern Royal Court or the Celestial Master residence. 2 years ago, she came from the immortal martial domain. Surnamed Gu, she knows about formations. Are you talking about that little girl Gu Bingning? Wang Kai furrowed his brows, staring at them with a strange expression on his face. As for the disdain of the crowd, he directly chose to ignore it. In Wang Kai's opinion, any scolding and any contempt was only temporary. There was no need to care about it at all. Little girl Gu Bingning. Everyone's expression instantly stiffened when they heard that. Especially when they saw the furious expressions of Dongfang Mo and Lan Jiuyo, they were even more speechless. While they looked down on Wang Kai, they couldn't help but admire him at the same time. Not many people had the courage to court death like him. Break his legs, cut his tongue, and blind his eyes. Leave his arms for the time being so that we can use the Tao of Fate. Dongfang Mo gritted his teeth and said, "Buzz." Suddenly, a long sword that was shining with cold light appeared in his hand. As soon as it appeared, a piercing gust of wind appeared. The gust of wind swept past, causing those cultivators below the Tao God realm to be cut into pieces. Their clothes were torn and their flesh and blood were tumbling as they fled in panic. Tao of Wind, Tao Artifact, Wind Running Sword. It will be difficult for Wang Kai to survive this time. Crown Prince Dongfang Mo cultivates the Tao of Wind and uses a Tao artifact. As a Tao God realm cultivator, he is superior to Wang Kai by several levels. Even if he has a supreme weapon, it will be absolutely difficult for him to resist. In the inn, the remaining experts, the weakest of whom was at the Tao God realm, all retreated to a distance. There was a layer of barrier in front of them, blocking the raging gust of wind and the sword blade. Dongfang Mo, stand down. His legs, eyes, and tongue belong to me, Lan Jiyo. Lan Jiyo scolded sternly. With a flip of his hand, he took out a red long spear. Immediately, a pressure that was not inferior to the wind-running sword swept out. The flowing blood-red airflow caused the entire second floor of the inn to be immersed in a pungent bloody mist. Plop! Plop! Suddenly, some of the Tao God realm experts rolled their eyes and fell to the ground. Even the barrier could not block the invasion of the blood. God-killing spear, Tao artifact, Tao of massacre. Many experts above the Tao God realm frowned and directly raised their hands to seal their sense of smell. Even if they were above the Tao God realm, whether it was the Tao of massacre or the Tao of wind, they could not pose a threat to their lives. However, the danger still existed. Tao artifact, an existence above the divine artifact? TSK. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed. Then, he shrugged and chuckled casually. With a flip of his hand, he took out the pitch-black fire rod. Such a scene caused everyone's eyes to bulge. Even Dongfang Mo and Lan Jiyo were stunned on the spot. Looking at the pitch-black fire rod, there were traces of being burned on it. It was even worse than an ordinary wooden rod. How could he have the nerve to take it out and embarrass himself? One doesn't seem to be enough for two people. Give me another one. Wang Kai shrugged and laughed mockingly. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the Who Am I brand fire rod. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Swoosh. Patter. When another fire rod appeared in Wang Kai's hand, everyone's expression froze. The corners of their mouths could not help but twitch violently. Using a fire rod to fight against a Tao artifact? What was this Wang Kai thinking in his head? Even if he wanted to die, he shouldn't do it like this, right? Don't just stand there and watch. Weren't you very good at acting tough just now? Come. Now you can attack. Let me hit each of you with a rod. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and waved the fire rod. His expression was rather mocking as he shouted arrogantly. Chapter 424. Sigh, it seems like the Eastern Imperial Court and the Celestial Master Mansion are still unwilling to let me go. Fine, my grandson, go back with them. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed repeatedly, pretending to be sad and helpless. Swoosh. As soon as these words came out, the powerhouses from the Eastern Imperial Court and the Celestial Master Mansion were enraged. They stared at Wang Kai with murderous intent. If it were not for Dongfang Mo and Lan Jiyo, they would have already attacked him. Grandfather, we won't leave you. No matter who comes, they won't be able to break us up. Dongfang Mo said sincerely. Lan Jiyo's eyes were also filled with determination. He knelt on the ground and said solemnly, "You're right. No matter what, the two of us won't leave you, grandfather." Such words infuriated the many experts who heard it. Countless onlookers were stunned. Who would have thought that the Crown Prince and the young mansion master, who were originally fine, would end up like this? Was this still the leader of the younger generation? However, Wang Kai felt extremely disgusted when he heard this, especially when he said that no one would be able to break them up. It made his stomach churn, and he almost vomited on the spot. All of you can go back for the time being. After a few days, grandfather will pick you up. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled playfully. Bastard! You're courting death. Swoosh! Swoosh! In an instant, the powerhouses from the Celestial Master Mansion and the Eastern Imperial Court could no longer hold back their anger. They stood up and brandished their weapons at Wang Kai. Absolute rebound card. How dare you! All of you, stop! Before Wang Kai could block them, Dongfang Mo and Lan Zhiyo's figures flashed and protected Wang Kai in the middle. Crown Prince. Young Mansion Master. Many powerhouses became even more furious when they saw this. They all thought that Wang Kai was behind this. However, with Dongfang Mo and Lan Zhiyo's obstruction, they could not do anything to Wang Kai. All of you, shut up. All of you back down. Dongfang Mo and Lan Zhiyo shouted in unison. Grandpa, I will go back with them for the time being. But don't worry, I will definitely find a chance to come out and see you, Dongfang Mo said. At the same time, Lan Zhiyo also used secret voice sending. Even if they had lost their memories, their current memories were all deliberately instilled in them by Wang Kai. However, they weren't stupid. They were able to figure out how to deal with the predicament in front of them. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. He felt some sympathy for the two of them. After being played to such an extent, who knew if they would go crazy when they recovered their memories in the future? In any case, Wang Kai was looking forward to the moment when they recovered their memories. And you can go back. Grandpa will definitely pick you up. Don't worry. Grandpa can deceive anyone, but I won't deceive my grandchildren. Wang Kai shrugged and said while suppressing his laughter. He didn't use voice transmission to say these words. Instead, he said them out loud. Many cultivators who heard this had their eyes bulging out and their mouths wide open. They looked as if they had gone crazy. Grandpa, take care. Grandpa, you must take care. Grandpa, let's go. Then, to everyone's disbelief, they saw Dongfang Mo and Lan Zhiyo kneel on the ground with sorrowful expressions. They even kowtowed to Wang Kai a few times. The banging sounds and the bleeding foreheads made everyone smack their lip. His Majesty East Emperor and the Master of the Celestial Master Mansion don't care about this? Many cultivators were puzzled. The top powers from the East Royal Court and the Celestial Master Mansion were even more puzzled. However, they were also furious. Whoever dares to hurt my grandpa, just wait to die. That's right. I, Dongfang Mo's grandfather, Wang Kai. If anyone dares to touch even a single strand of his hair, he will be beheaded. Swoosh. After he finished speaking, the top powers from the East Royal Court and the Celestial Master Mansion gritted their teeth and left with their young masters with bloodshot eyes. They were afraid that if they stayed any longer, they would not be able to resist killing Wang Kai. East Emperor, and the Master of the Celestial Master Mansion, it seems like you are really afraid of me. The Eastern region is just SOSO. It's not challenging at all. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, he placed one hand behind his back and waved the folding fan in the other. He walked away in a carefree manner. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the second grade Dao King Realm. Are the East Emperor and the Master of the Celestial Master Mansion really afraid of Wang Kai? How is this possible? Why? Is he really from the Central Region? And his status is extremely high. In the face of the doubts of the top powers, the two middle-aged men far away in the void gritted their teeth and watched with ghastly expressions. They were also trying to suppress their anger. The Wang family. The Master of the Celestial Master Mansion said coldly. He clenched his fists so tightly that they turned white. The veins on his forehead bulged as if blood would burst out at any time. The middle-aged man in the golden dragon robe beside him said in a deep voice, "We can't be sure if he is from the Wang family, but we can confirm that he is the successor of the Tong Tian Tower." "Humph! He must be from the Wang family. Didn't you notice that he is very similar to Wang Tian? He is even more similar to Lin Yu." The master of the Celestial Master Mansion snorted coldly. When the East Emperor heard this, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He smiled coldly and said with killing intent, "Two heavenly supremes, Wang Tian, Lin Yu. If Wang Kai is really your son, I will not let you off so easily." "East Emperor, since when did you like to brag? Do you think we can contend with the power of two heavenly supremes? If it is a one-on-one fight, we will not lose. However, if they join forces, they can fight against a supreme being. I believe you know this very well. If you really want to make a move on him, don't involve the Celestial Master Mansion." The master of the Celestial Master Mansion said coldly, "Humph, no matter how strong the two heavenly supremes are, they can't shake the Central Baron Heavenly Court. I will not let this matter rest." The East Emperor snorted coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure disappeared. When the master of the Celestial Master Mansion saw this, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He glanced coldly at Wang Kai's back and his pupils shrank. He gritted his teeth and said coldly, "Bastard, why is he going to the Celestial Master Mansion?" Swoosh! As the master of the Celestial Master Mansion disappeared, Wang Kai had already arrived in the sky above the Celestial Master Mansion. He looked down at the mansion, which looked like 1,000 cities combined together. He couldn't help but smile in surprise. The Celestial Master Mansion is quite impressive. The size of this mansion is probably equivalent to half of Fan Province. "Who are you? Why are you stopping above the Celestial Master Mansion?" Suddenly, a voice filled with cold murderous intent rang out, causing Wang Kai to raise his eyebrows. Patter! With one hand behind his back, Wang Kai opened a folding fan with the other hand and gently fanned himself. He smiled calmly and said, "My name is Wang Kai, and I am the sect master of the Discord sect. My purpose for coming here today is simple. The Celestial Master Mansion is too big, and it is blocking my path. I need to split the mansion into two and clear a path from the center. Yes, this is your honor and also your fortune. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points." Chapter 425. The Sky Sect is a third-grade force. Sect Master Wang Kai, since you're willing to join the Celestial Master Mansion, come in from the main entrance. You'll have a high status as long as you can go. Swoosh! Before the experts in the Celestial Master Mansion could reprimand him, a majestic voice drifted out from the depths of the mansion. "Mansion Master." Many elders and disciples looked respectful as they bowed and cupped their fists in the direction of the mansion. A third-grade force? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He looked at the opened gate with a playful expression. He could not help but shrug his shoulders and smile. "According to my current Tao King level, I should be the master of a grade 5 force. This Empyrean Palace Master just said that the Discord Sky Sect is a grade 3 force. Interesting. The master of a third-grade force had to be at the Tao God realm. Moreover, there had to be a Tao Saint Elder in the force. The master of a 5th-grade force had to be at the Tao King realm. There was a difference of 2 grades, but the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. It was strange. Why did the master of the Celestial Master Mansion do this? Is it because I just defeated Dongfang Mo and Lan Jio? Since the master of the Celestial Master Mansion knows what happened and has yet to appear, why does he want me to join the Celestial Master Mansion? Why is he doing this?" Wang Kai frowned as he secretly pondered. In the end, he was unable to come up with a reason. Immediately, he shrugged his shoulders and simply stopped thinking about it. His figure drifted and directly landed in front of the mansion's door. Since the master of the Celestial Master Mansion wanted to play, he would play along. He would know who was strong and who was weak. Wang Kai only had one purpose in coming to the Celestial Master Mansion, and that was to see Gu Bingning and ask about the location of the space formation platform. Where had the rest of the people been sent to? There were many experts in the wasteland. It would be difficult for Prince Jin Duo and Princess Kun Shui to survive. No matter what, it had something to do with him. If he could help, he would help. Sect Leader Wang, as long as you enter this door, you will no longer be the sect leader of the Discord sect. Instead, you will be an outer disciple of the Celestial Master Residence. Of course, if you can pass through the outer gate and enter the inner mansion, you can also become an inner mansion disciple. A gray-robed old man stood in front of the gate with his hands behind his back. His eyes flickered with a bright light. Get lost, this sect master has never changed his name. My name is Wang Kai, and I am the sect master of the Discord sect. Whether it is now or in the future, it will still be the same. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a disdainful smile. The old man's pupils constricted, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. However, he could only temporarily dismiss the idea of using force against Wang Kai when he thought about what the mansion master had just said. The leader of a third-grade force was definitely at the Tao God realm. This old man was merely an outer sect elder, and his cultivation level was only at the peak of the Tao Emperor realm. Young man, the Celestial Palace is not an ordinary force. It's a first-rank overlord force in the Eastern Wilderness. You should be careful with your words and actions. The outer elder said in a deep voice. Shake until you get cramps. Congratulations to the host for successfully shaking the cramps card dancing powder. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Crack. As a black jade bottle appeared in Wang Kai's palm, he directly crushed the jade bottle in front of the outer court elder's puzzled gaze. Crack. Buzz. Immediately, white smoke drifted out and spread around the outer sect elder's body. As he breathed, all of it was sucked into his body. This is... bastard, you... The outer sect elder was so embarrassed that he couldn't stop shouting. He couldn't control his body, and started to dance in front of the gate. He shook his head faster and faster, causing his hair to be disheveled. He twisted his body and shook his head as he bounced around in shame. In the future, you should be more discerning. Even if the mansion master of the Celestial Palace comes personally, he will have to kneel down and greet me, let alone you. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled with an indifferent expression. Then, he placed his hands behind his back and walked into the mansion. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the third-grade Tao King stage. Oh no! What the hell is going on? Let go of this elder. The outer sect elder was so embarrassed that he kept shouting. He wanted to stop Wang Kai, but he still couldn't control his body. All he could do was shake his head and dance uncontrollably. Upon witnessing this scene, several outer sect disciples gulped. As they stared at Wang Kai's figure, all of their hearts violently skipped a beat. I'm afraid the outer sect can't tolerate him. Even if they can, they can't. It's too dangerous. It's not dangerous, it's despicable. He's also shameless. The elder is already so old. How could he? Many outer sect disciples, including men and women, were so frightened that their faces turned pale when they saw Wang Kai's strange technique. Mansion Master, young Mansion Master's memory has been tampered with. His past memories have all disappeared. In the Mansion Master's courtyard, a door opened gently, and a white-haired elder in a silver robe walked out. He walked up to the Mansion Master and cupped his fists. He shook his head and sighed. Even a supremacy alchemist like you can't save my son. Who else can save him? The mansion master's face was gloomy and terrifying. He looked out of the mansion, and his heart was filled with murderous intent. The silver-robed elder shook his head and sighed. He thought for a while and said, "Whoever started the trouble should end it. If you go to the central region, you might still have a chance." Going to the central region only meant that you might still have a chance? The mansion master frowned. He didn't expect Wang Kai to be so powerful. Not only could a supremacy alchemist not solve the problem, but even if he went to the central region, he might still have a chance. Where is Wang Kai now? The celestial master manor lord asked coldly. Whoosh! In the void a figure appeared. He was dressed in a black robe, and his entire body was covered. His face could not be seen clearly, and not a single strand of hair could be seen. He cupped his fists and bowed slightly, saying, "Reporting to Chief, I'm still in the outer sect residence." Oh, with his speed! What? He is still in the outer sect? What is he doing? The celestial master mansion master was startled halfway through his words, and he hurriedly asked in a low voice. With Wang Kai's ability, even a Tao god was no match for him. It would be easy for him to pass through the outer sect and inner sect, but he was still in the outer sect? Mansion master, he is teaching the outer sect disciples and elders how to dance. The celestial master frowned when he heard this. He asked in confusion, how can he be so kind? Teaching the inner sect disciples martial arts? Mansion master, it is not martial arts but dance. Dance. Whoosh. The mansion master's face changed and he quickly used his spiritual soul. When he saw what was happening in the outer sect residence, his face turned green with anger. The outer sect elders, male and female disciples, were dancing in a line and shaking their heads. What was worse was that Wang Kai was sitting in a chair with his legs crossed. He was drinking tea and enjoying the show leisurely. Bastard! The mansion master gritted his teeth and scolded. Mansion master, I don't know why you allowed him to enter the mansion master. It is not a good thing for our residents. The black shadow asked in the void. Chapter 426. Are you the only one who knows that it's not a good thing? The master of the celestial master mansion's face darkened. If Wang Kai was not the son of Duality Sovereign, why would he be so wary of him? He would have turned into a corpse by now. Moreover, the matter of Lan Zhuyo's memory had not been resolved yet. He could not force Wang Kai, so he could only try to subdue him first. If he could get Wang Kai to join the Celestial Master Mansion and inform Duality Sovereign, wouldn't the Celestial Master Mansion have a Sovereign Realm expert in the future? From then on, the Celestial Master Mansion would surpass the first-grade force. There would no longer be two overlords in the Eastern Wilderness, but one in the Celestial Master Mansion. With that in mind, the Celestial Exalt Manor's master suppressed his anger and said coldly, "Pass down my order." Exalts are not allowed to exert any pressure or tricks on Wang Kai. He can do whatever he wants in his cultivation base. Manor Lord, this subordinate feels that this matter is inappropriate. That Wang Kai has the strange ability to defeat a Tao God stage cultivator. If we allow this to continue, the Celestial Master Mansion will lose all face. The shadow said in a deep voice. The master of the Celestial Master Mansion's eyes darkened, and he said in an unfriendly tone, "Am I the master of the Celestial Master Mansion, or are you? Pass down my order quickly." "Yes, master." Black Shadow cupped his fists and said no more. His body gradually disappeared into the void. "Master, he was sent by the Heavenly Emperor of the Central Wilderness. I'm afraid the Heavenly Emperor will be unhappy with this treatment," the silver-robed elder said with a frown. The master of the Celestial Master Mansion sneered in his heart. If he could get Duality Sovereign on his side, Even if he could not shake the central wilderness heavenly court, the other party would not provoke the celestial master mansion easily. Of course, he could not go too far with his unachieved goal. Otherwise, he would have killed Black Shadow. It's okay. The Heavenly Emperor is using this to monitor me. The East King also has such a person. As long as I don't endanger the central wilderness heavenly court, it's fine. The master of the celestial master mansion said. At the same time, Wang Kai crossed his legs and leaned on the chair within the outer palace's martial arts practice grounds. He held a teacup in one hand and lightly fanned himself with the other as he enjoyed the scene before him. Those outer sect elders and outer sect disciples, regardless of gender or age, were all lined up on the martial arts practice field. They all shook their heads, twisted their waists, and swung their arms. They were all dancing with vigor. Even though they were ashamed, angry, and unwilling, they were powerless to resist. Their bodies were completely out of their control. The only thing they could do now was to maintain a clear mind. However, they would rather not have such a clear mind. Unfortunately, they could only know what they were doing, which caused their grief, shame, and anger to become even more intense. Such a dance, it's more comfortable to watch a woman dance. TSK, this small figure, not bad, haha. Wang Kai laughed with a playful expression. They had originally planned to pass through the outer palace directly. However, who knew that those outer sect disciples and elders had also taken the dancing powder, causing everyone to dance and shake their bodies. Wang Kai naturally would not miss such a good show. He even helped them by arranging them into a formation. Damn it! Despicable! Shameless! The male disciples were still fine. They were so ashamed and angry that they were unwilling to speak. However, the female disciples were so ashamed and indignant that they would open their red lips and curse whenever they shook their heads. However, Wang Kai did not care at all. Instead, he sipped his tea and fanned himself. He laughed mockingly and said, "Yes, yes. Shake your butt and twist your waist. Shake your hair and flick it. Bastard. Damn it." When they heard Wang Kai's teasing words, many of the female disciples were so angry that their faces turned red. Some of them even burst into tears. Forget it. I'll take my leave. You all can dance slowly. It's not bad for your body to move more. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders, put down the teacup, fanned himself with his fan, and leisurely walked away with small steps. As for the dancing powder, there was no need to remove it at all. It would naturally stop when they got cramps from dancing. However, judging from the physiques of these outer sect disciples, they would probably need to dance for several months before they could stop. Fortunately, the dancing powder limited their cultivation. Otherwise, with their cultivation, it would not be a problem for them to dance for several decades. Bang! When they passed through the martial arts practice field and arrived at the gate of the inner palace, they saw that the gate was slammed shut by two pale-faced disciples. Naturally, the inner palace disciples had seen what happened in the outer sect. They did not want Wang Kai to do such a strange thing to them. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing? The strongest outer sect disciple is at the peak of the Tao Emperor realm. Then, the weakest inner palace disciple should be at the Tao Emperor realm, right? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at the closed gate. If he relied on his martial Tao foundation, he would naturally not be a match for those inner palace disciples. Open the gate and welcome my arrival. I'll let all of you go. Otherwise, dancing and shaking your head is a light punishment for all of you. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a playful smile. Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of the inner palace disciples changed abruptly. They looked at each other and gnashed their teeth in anger. Their expressions were extremely furious. Even the inner palace elders, who were at the Tao Saint realm, had a livid expression at this moment. They were extremely fearful in their hearts. With Wang Kai's strength as the master of a third-grade force, he was definitely at the Tao God realm. The inner palace disciples were definitely not a match for him. Thinking of this, the inner palace elders looked at each other and nodded at the disciples in unison. "Elder, are we really going to let him in?" "Yes, we don't want to be like the outer sect junior brothers and junior sisters." Many disciples were hesitant as they resisted with faces full of fear. "Do you think I'm willing to let him in? What else can we do? The mansion master has already spoken. Who can stop him? Don't tell me we have to wait for him to fight his way in and…" Bang! Rumble! Before the elder could finish speaking, a loud explosion was heard. The tightly closed gate was directly blasted into pieces. When the smoke and dust gradually dissipated, Wang Kai's figure that caused many disciples to be afraid of suddenly appeared in front of the gate. "I'll blast you with the air compression cannon. Yes, it's indeed useful." Wang Kai was carrying a silver-white steel tube on his shoulder. The tube's mouth was still emitting black smoke buzz. Then, the silver-white steel tube disappeared. Wang Kai bent his fingers and flicked his clothes. He waved his folding fan and looked at them with a mocking expression. He smiled faintly and said, "I just asked you to open the gate, but you didn't. Now that you want to open it, there's no way. And if you want to escape, there's no way." In order to blast open the gate of the inner palace, he had spent a total of 100 bragging points and obtained the air compression cannon to blast open the gate. With such a loss, how could Wang Kai just let it go? Chapter 427. In the Mansion Master's courtyard in the depths of the Celestial Master residence. The Mansion Master had his hands behind his back and was frowning. There was a tinge of worry in his eyes as he paced back and forth in the courtyard. He had planned to let Wang Kai walk around the Celestial Master residence and let him see the power of the Celestial Master residence. He wanted to understand the difference between them and the Celestial Master Residence's overlord status in the Eastern Wilderness so that he could subdue him. However, after waiting for a long time, Wang Kai still had not reached his destination. Especially when he thought of what Wang Kai had done in the outer residence, the Mansion Master regretted letting him in through the main entrance. He did not know what would have happened if he had not let Wang Kai in through the main entrance. Mansion Master, Wang Kai has left the inner residence and is heading to the core residence. Above the void, the black shadow appeared, its tone full of schadenfreude. The Celestial Master's expression changed slightly. How long had it been? He had just left the inner residence? What did he do now? The Mansion Master asked in a low voice. However, the black shadow had no intention of telling him. Instead, he mocked. "Why don't you take a look yourself and the truth will be revealed?" "Humph!" The Mansion Master snorted in displeasure. A murderous look flashed across his eyes as he released his spiritual soul. When he saw what had happened in the inner residence, his face stiffened. Bastard! What kind of weirdo is he? Why is there such a huge difference between him and dual heavenly supremacy? The Mansion Master could not help but scold. Whoosh! However, the Mansion Master regretted it as soon as he said that, especially when he looked at the black shadow in the void. He could not help but tremble. Mansion Master, what does this man have to do with dual heavenly supremacy? Are you tolerating him and allowing him to do as he pleases because of dual heavenly supremacy? The black shadow asked coldly. The Celestial Master's face darkened when he heard this. He was truly infuriated by Wang Kai's actions. Otherwise, this matter would not have been leaked. If Black Shadow were to inform the Central Wasteland's Celestial Emperor of this matter, then it would be difficult to hide his plans from that woman. The Central Desolate Heavenly Emperor was the strongest woman in the entire 8 desolate lands, a ruthless woman that should not be provoked the most. What are you going to do? Are you going to report this to the Heavenly Emperor of the Central Barren Territory? The Lord of the Heavenly Exalted Mansion said coldly as waves of terrifying pressure emerged from his body. Obviously, he wanted to kill them. When Black Shadow saw this, He did not show any abnormalities. His tone was low and cold as he sneered, "Estate master, I will not tell His Majesty about this. However, you must teach me the heavenly venerate technique. The heavenly sovereign technique." As soon as he said this, the lord of the heavenly exalted mansion's face turned cold. He snorted disdainfully and said, "You have a big appetite. I can only give you 3 days to think about it. I also hope that you will not have the intention to kill me. Otherwise, it will be difficult for both of us to live peacefully." Black Shadow said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared into the void. The lord of the heavenly exalted mansion's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He coldly swept his gaze across the empty void. After a long while, he sneered and said, 3 days? Humph, that's enough." At the same time, in front of the core mansion. Unlike the inner mansion previously, when Wang Kai arrived, the door was suddenly opened. There were dozens of divine Saint Realm disciples standing on both sides of the door. In the center, there were 5 Tao God Realm elders who had come to welcome him. What surprised Wang Kai even more were the female disciples who had come to welcome him. All of their cultivation bases were at the peak of the divine Saint Realm. Their appearances were also incomparably beautiful. It could be said that none of the female disciples who had come to welcome him looked ordinary. On the outside, they were definitely beauties. Moreover, each of the female disciples held a bouquet of fresh flowers in their slender hands. "Welcome to the core mansion, sect leader Wang." The female disciples' voices were crisp and pleasant. As soon as they came up, they surrounded Wang Kai in the middle. The fresh flowers in their hands were continuously delivered into Wang Kai's hands. "Welcome to the core mansion, sect leader Wang." Then, under the lead of the 5 Tao God Realm elders, many of the core disciples cupped their fists and greeted him warmly. Looking at this scene, Wang Kai immediately raised his eyebrows. Originally, he had come in from the main door to find out what the Lord of the Heavenly Exalted Mansion wanted to do. However, until now, he had not discovered anything strange. Now Wang Kai was even more confused. Why would a dignified core disciple and core elder greet him with smiles on their faces? "Wait, all of you step back, step back." Wang Kai hurriedly raised his hands and said with a strange expression. This situation caused the female disciples' faces to stiffen. However, they did not dare to refuse. They quickly kept the fresh flowers and took a few steps back. Even the elders and many disciples looked at Wang Kai with a tense expression. If they were not afraid that Wang Kai would play a trick on them, why would they try to please him? However, it seemed that it was useless to please him now. Little did they know that Wang Kai was extremely suspicious of their good intentions. After all, he had taught young mansion master Lan Jiao a lesson and also severely tricked the outer and inner mansion disciples and elders. No matter what, they would not treat him nicely, right? However, they were treating him nicely now. Moreover, they were treating him nicely as if they were worshipping their ancestors to please him. Wang Kai did not realize that they were only doing this because they were too afraid. "Tell me, what is your purpose? Do you want to occupy my body? Or do you want to win my heart? However, you don't have to worry about it. I will be a man that you will never get." Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Whoosh. As soon as he said that, everyone was stunned. Didn't you ask us to say it? But what else can we say when you've shut us up? Moreover, after spying on us previously, didn't you say that as long as we were obedient, we would not do anything excessive? Why does it seem that it is useless to be obedient now? All of you, squat on the ground and hold your heads. Throw away your weapons. Hurry up. Wang Kai frowned and said with an unfriendly look. Although he had many treasures and weapons to protect himself, his cultivation realm was still not as high as theirs. If he was careless, he would definitely fail miserably. If they hadn't greeted him with such smiles, Wang Kai wouldn't have been so suspicious. They were already standing on opposite sides, so when the enemy suddenly attacked, who would be able to stand it? Who wouldn't be suspicious? Ding-dang! Ding-dang! Patter! Patter! Then, the elders and disciples threw their weapons on the ground. Sabers, spears, rods, axes, hatchets, hooks, and tridents were everywhere. Finally, they obeyed and squatted on the ground with their hands on their heads. However, their eyes were full of vigilance and fear as they stared at Wang Kai. Their stares made Wang Kai even more suspicious. He was also more and more certain that they were trying to stir up trouble by doing this. Want to cause trouble for this sect master? Today I will let you all know that no matter how strong or what kind of person you are, as long as you dare to act tough in front of this sect master, no matter what kind of fawning appearance you put on, you will have to pay a painful price. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and smiled coldly with an unfriendly expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 6th grade Tao King realm. Chapter 428. Swoosh. As soon as the words left his mouth, everyone stood up in shock. With a flip of their hands, they grabbed the weapons on the ground and held them tightly in their hand. Waves of oppression from the Tao saints and Tao gods swept out in all directions. Wang Kai, even if you have the ability to defeat our young mansion master, the 5 of us can still defeat you if we join forces, the leading Tao god elder said coldly. However, he did not sound very confident when he said that. The other 4 Tao Divinity Realm elders were the same. Even though their expressions were ferocious, their eyes were filled with deep worry. As the elders of the Celestial Master Mansion, they were well aware of young Mansion Master Lan Jiuyo's strength. Even if the 5 of them joined forces, they were no match for Lan Jiuyo. However, Wang Kai did not want to live peacefully. He could not possibly allow himself to be tricked by Lan Jiuyo, could he? The miserable state of the outer court disciples, inner court disciples, and elders was something that everyone had witnessed with their own eyes. Now they could only fight. Have you finally shown your true colors? Humph! How dare you try to mess with me with your lowly acting skills? You're really good at acting tough. However, your pretentiousness isn't much. Compared to this sect master, it's like the difference between heaven and earth. Wang Kai waved his folding fan and sneered with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully boasting. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. True colors? Mess with him? When everyone heard that, they became even more furious. You're the one who doesn't want to let this matter go, but you're pretending to be righteous. How dare you? Disciples, listen up. Set up the formation and kill this man. The leading elder shouted. Elder, do we really? The mansion master. The disciples frowned. For a moment, they did not dare to do as the mansion master said, as they did not know what he meant. The leading elder's gaze turned vicious when he heard this. He sneered and said, The mansion master only wants us to kill him. Quickly set up the formation. Yes, elder. There's no need to set up the formation. You won't have the chance. Crazy Laughter Brand Spirit Transforming Powder. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the Crazy Laughter Brand Spirit Transforming Powder. 100 bragging points. 1. Suddenly, Wang Kai flipped his hand and took out a gray bag. While everyone was on high alert, he threw the bag into the air. Sha sha sha. When layers of gray powder drifted down, the expressions of the elders and disciples were all abruptly stunned. Immediately after, they held their stomachs and laughed non-stop. Ha ha, damn it, ha ha, bastard, ha ha. Despicable fellow. Ha ha, I'm going to kill you. Ha. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows as he watched the disciples fall to the ground in laughter. He waved the fan in his hand and shook his head as he sighed. Why do you have to do this? We are all from the same root. Why are you so anxious to kill each other? Aren't you forcing me to break the precepts? AI, please spare your lives. I hope that all living beings are as kind and benevolent as this cult master. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 7th stage Tao King realm. Upon hearing Wang Kai's words, the disciples and elders who could not stop laughing felt like crying but had no tears to shed. Infuriating. Ha ha ha, infuriating old man. Ha. You are angry and laughing at the same time. How annoying. With one hand behind his back and the other waving the fan, Wang Kai snorted disdainfully and strode away. Bastard! Ha ha ha! Upon hearing the laughter behind him, Wang Kai felt strange. He did not know where this system had come from. It had actually given out such strange treasures and weapons. However, Wang Kai still liked it so much. Have we finally reached the direct disciple mansion? Ha ha, Wang Kai, whether you live or die depends on yourself. In the depths of the Celestial Master Mansion, the Mansion Master of the Celestial Master Mansion retrieved his spiritual soul. His eyes were cold as he sneered. You, old thing, don't hurt my grandfather. Let me out, you bastard. If you dare to hurt my grandfather, Lan Juyo will definitely kill you. In the room, Lan Juyo's angry and sorrowful cries rang out. The master of the Celestial Master Mansion's face darkened. Wang Kai, if you can't satisfy me. Humph. The master of the Celestial Master Mansion said coldly. In front of the gate of the Direct Disciple Mansion, Wang Kai stepped in and arrived at a martial arts practice field. However, the area was quite large. It was equivalent to the area of the outer gate, the inner mansion, and even the core mansion combined. At the same time, around the martial arts practice field, there were many young disciples who were sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed. There were both men and women, and they looked to be around 20 years old. When Wang Kai stepped into the martial arts practice field, the young disciples slowly opened their eyes. Rays of light flashed across their eyes. Their auras were at the peak of the Tao God realm. Although they were slightly weaker than Lan Juyo, they were not far off. These two old men should be elders who are above the Tao God realm, right? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and stopped in his tracks. He looked at the two old men in the middle of the martial arts practice field with a mocking gaze. The two old men were wearing gray robes. Their hair was completely white, and although their faces were slightly wrinkled and aged, their bodies were very robust. This was especially true for their eyes, which were bursting with light. Welcome, Holy Master Zhang Sun Tianming. The two old men bowed respectfully to the void. Then, they lowered their heads and retreated to the edge of the martial arts practice field. They sat with the other direct disciples. Holy Master? Zhang Sun Tianming? When Wang Kai heard that, he raised his eyebrows and quickly looked at the void. However, after a long while, he did not see anyone. When he retracted his gaze, he saw a man in a green robe in the middle of the martial arts practice field. This man was tall and slender, and his green robes were neat and clean. His face was handsome, and his temperament was extraordinary. What made people's eyes light up was that his hair was also green. Even his pupils were green. The sword hanging on his waist was also green. F***CK. Are you trying to act tough in front of me? You were respectfully asking for Sun Tianming and Sun Tianming. After such a long time, you did not come down. Are you trying to show me that you are fast enough? Are you mysterious enough? Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. Swoosh. These words immediately caused everyone to frown. Their gazes were filled with killing intent as they stared at Wang Kai. They had never imagined that this person's character would be so vile. And you? Are you calling Sun Tianming or Sun Tianming? Is it a trend for the disciples of the Holy Master Mansion to dye their hair? King green hair, why don't you make your skin green as well? Wouldn't it be more perfect if you wore a green hat? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at him with a playful smile. These words caused the many direct disciples and elders to be unable to restrain themselves any longer. Even the green-clothed man's eyes turned cold as he looked at Wang Kai in an eerily cold manner. Wang Kai, my name is Zhang Sun Tianming. I am a direct disciple of the Holy Master Mansion. If you are willing to join the Holy Master Mansion and become a direct disciple, I will spare your life, Zhang Sun Tianming said coldly. When Wang Kai heard that, he raised his eyebrows and flipped open his fan. With a playful smile, he said, "Why are you talking nonsense? Why don't you just say that you want to fight with me?" Chapter 429. Want to use force? Everyone's eyes flashed with disdain when they heard that. They were naturally very clear about Zhang Sun Tianming's ability. Not to mention a Tao God Realm expert, even the two elders present, who were experts above the Tao God Realm, were absolutely no match for him. The disdain on Zhang Sun Tianming's face was obvious. He coldly swept a glance at Wang Kai and said indifferently, "Wang Kai, what have you experienced in the heavenly venerate residence?" Experience? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at him strangely. He smiled mockingly and said, "Yes, I've experienced a lot. For example, the outer disciples and elders are dancing instead of practicing martial art. The inner disciples have nothing better to do, but they're even worse. They're hugging each other and rubbing against each other." At this point, the faces of the disciples and elders present had already turned ashen. Zhang Sun Tianming's gaze darkened as a trace of anger flashed across his eyes. "I wonder what kind of show the disciples of the core mansion will put on. TSK, I'm looking forward to it. Yes, I didn't come to the Heavenly Master Mansion for nothing. Ah." Wang Kai waved his folding fan and couldn't help but laugh out loud. However, his laughter was undoubtedly the most humiliating thing in the ears of everyone present. Wasn't it obvious who had caused the outer and inner disciples to be in such a state? The culprit was gloating over their misfortune. How despicable! Wang Kai, you have to know that the Discord sect and the Heavenly Master Mansion are incomparable. Even if you have some talent, you should cultivate in the Heavenly Master Mansion. Only then will it be of great help to your future achievements, Zhang Sun Tianming said faintly. When Wang Kai heard that, he finally understood. The master of the Heavenly Master Mansion had asked him to come here step by step from the main entrance so that he could see the strength of the Heavenly Master Mansion. He wanted to use this to compare the Discord sect and raise the status of the Heavenly Master Mansion. Wang Kai was speechless and shrugged his shoulders. He had not expected the master of the Heavenly Master Mansion to have such an idea. Did he want him to become a member of the Heavenly Master Mansion? It seems that this sect master's talent is truly unparalleled. In order to rope me in, the Celestial Master residents didn't hesitate to have their disciples dance with their elders to please me. TSK, if my grandson can perform a dance for me tomorrow, this sect master will consider joining the Celestial Master residence, Wang Kai said with a mocking smile. Congratulations to the host for bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. My grandson tomorrow? Dance a little? Whoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, it instantly caused Zhang Sun Tianming's face to turn cold. He turned around to face Wang Kai, and he revealed killing intent as he said coldly, "You should be very clearly aware that you're merely at the Tao King realm. If you don't agree, then this Saint Exalt can crush you with a single hand." Tao King? Wang Kai was only a Tao King? The expressions of the direct disciples and direct elders present all changed when they heard this. Their eyes were filled with extreme shock as they stared at Wang Kai. They could not believe that he was actually so weak. As a Dao king, he was able to defeat a Dao god. He fought from the outer sect all the way to the core palace. Wherever he went, the outer sect disciples, the inner sect disciples, and even the elders were all severely humiliated by him. How was this possible? If Wang Kai was really at the Dao King realm, he could not even walk through the outer court. Haha, this sect master is indeed at the Dao King realm. However, the Celestial Exalted Mansion's Mansion Master just so happens to say that this sect master is the sect master of a rank 3 power. I presume he did this because he was afraid those outer court disciples and inner court disciples would offend this sect master and be killed by this sect master, right? At least your trashy palace master has some self-awareness. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather indifferent expression. At this moment, Wang Kai finally understood the master of the Heavenly Master Mansion's intention. He said that he was the master of a third-grade force so that the outer court disciples and inner court disciples would be afraid. Even the elders would not dare to act rashly. Then, he used the strength of the Heavenly Master Mansion's disciples to let him know how powerful the Heavenly Master Mansion was. Finally, he used the direct disciples who were above the Dao God realm to fight with him so that he could join the Heavenly Master Mansion. The master of the Heavenly Master Mansion had put in a lot of effort. On one hand, he had seen the strength of the Heavenly Master Mansion's disciples. On the other hand, he had used the direct disciples who were stronger than the Dao God realm to threaten him. There were both advantages and disadvantages. Seems like you are still stubborn. Fine, let's fight then. This Saint Lord can suppress my cultivation base to the Dao King realm. The victor has the right to decide everything. Do you dare to accept my challenge? Zhangsun Tianming calmly spoke. Clap, clap, clap. Once these words were said, Wang Kai's eyebrows immediately twitched. He raised his hand and clapped. His expression was incomparably surprised as he repeatedly praised. Good. Well said. You're really good at acting tough. You're so pretentious that I can't wait to beat you into a pulp. Since you're so awesome, why don't we have a fight? Zhangsun Tianming was stronger than the Dao God realm, but he wanted to suppress his cultivation to fight. Wang Kai could not help but admire Zhangsun Tianming's way of acting tough. However, this admiration was completely negative. In Wang Kai's opinion, Zhangsun Tianming was undoubtedly an overconfident idiot who wanted to be beaten up. Come at me. I'll suppress my cultivation to the same level as yours. After completing the task that the master of the Heavenly Master Mansion asked me to do, I still have to cultivate in seclusion. I don't have time to waste with you. Zhangsun Tianming said. Swoosh. Upon hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at him mockingly. He could not help but sneer in his heart. In this case, he would not need to use any treasures or weapons. It would save him a lot of energy. Ice Dao. Buzz. Suddenly, layers of frost appeared around Wang Kai's body. His originally black hair instantly turned snow-white. His eyebrows and even his eyes were the same. He looked as if he did not belong to the mortal world. That bone-piercing chilliness caused the direct disciples present to involuntarily frown. As Dao gods, they were naturally not afraid of Wang Kai's Dao King realm Ice Dao. They were surprised by Wang Kai's strength. He was clearly at the 7th stage of the Dao King realm, but the power of his Ice Dao was at the 7th stage of the Dao Emperor realm. This could only prove one thing. Level 10 bloodline. Not bad. You have the qualifications to become a personal disciple. Come at me. Zhangsun Tianming said indifferently. Although it was a compliment, it sounded very casual. It was obvious that he did not care about level 10 bloodline at all. Ability, Heaven Sealing Ice Technique. Wang Kai raised his arm and pointed. As soon as he spoke, a long spear condensed from frost and attacked Zhangsun Tianming. Your god art is also not bad. You have a rank 10 bloodline, and your god art and Dao are both top-notch. However, you are still too weak. Zhang Sun Tianming shook his head and stood there with his hands behind his back. Ability Wood Armor Technique. Chapter 430. Buzz. Crack. Crack. Suddenly, green wooden armor pierced through the ground and covered Zhang Sun Tianming's body like a cocoon. Bang. Crack. Crack. When the long ice spear arrived, it accurately pierced the wooden armor. However, it did not break the wooden armor. However, the ice-cold temperature caused the wooden armor to freeze. Although the way of ice can restrain the way of wood, it is not an absolute restraint. Crack. Crack. After a faint voice was emitted from within the wooden armor, the frozen wooden armor turned into fragments and fell off like the cold ice. Inside, Zhang Sun Tianming was completely unscathed. Not even the cold ice was able to harm him in the slightest. Wang Kai was well aware of this principle. Just like trees, they would fall into a dormant state during winter. When spring came, they would still grow. The surface could be frozen, but the interior was still intact. If the way of ice was frozen for a long time, it could naturally defeat the way of wood. However, Wang Kai did not want to do that, and Zhang Sun Tianming would not give him the chance to do so. Thinking about this, Wang Kai frowned slightly and pondered over it. He also secretly searched for the various Dao techniques stored in the system. The way of wild sand can devour vitality. Wang Kai's eyes lit up and his expression became playful. Great! Saint Master Zhangsun is indeed powerful. You can cultivate the way of wood to the point where the way of ice cannot restrain it. I am impressed. Hearing the praises of the disciples, Wang Kai rolled his eyes and sneered disdainfully. Isn't it just tree bark? What's so great about it? Do you know that the way of wild sand was created by me hundreds of millions of years ago? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 8th grade Dao King Realm. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the way of wild sand. Cultivate the Yellow Spring Sand Sea skill, Wang Kai said in his mind. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the superpower Yellow Spring Sand Sea skill. You have consumed 300 bragging points. Buzz. Suddenly, the layers of frost disappeared, and the bone-chilling temperature also disappeared in an instant. What replaced it was endless desolation and spreading sand. He has cultivated the way of wild sand. No, look at his cultivation level. He has reached the 8th grade Dao King Realm. This D*eminent. He must have gained enlightenment from the battle with Saint Master Zhangsun Tianming and increased his cultivation level. Many disciples were filled with jealousy. They also wanted to spar with Zhangsun Tianming and gain insights from breaking through. However, without the order of the Mansion Master, they would not even get a chance to see Zhangsun Tianming. The way of wild sand has the ability to devour life force. It seems that we are not compatible. The way of ice and wild sand that you have cultivated are both restraining the way of wood. However, with your understanding of Tao, you are still far from being able to restrain me, Zhangsun Tianming said calmly. As soon as he said that, Wang Kai frowned and sneered with disdain. Whether I can restrain you or not, you will only know after you try. Superpower Yellow Spring Sand Sea skill. Buzz. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Splash. Suddenly, the sound of flowing water could be heard. Layers of golden sand gathered in Wang Kai's palms and spun like a whirlwind, gradually expanding. When the whirlwind of sand reached a height of a few hundred meters, Wang Kai flipped his hand and threw it at Zhangsun Tianming. Zhangsun Tianming did not move at all when he saw the whirlwind of sand. He said softly, "Wood restrains earth. Sand is also considered earth. You don't even know the law of the 5 elements restraining each other. How dare you use such a Tao to go against me?" Superpower, forest of 10,000 miles. Buzz. Bang 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 bang. In an instant, the attack of the wild sand whirlwind was blocked. In the vast training field, towering trees suddenly grew. They were so dense that they blocked the wild sand whirlwind. Even if the wild sand whirlwind turned into a thick layer of sand and tried to cover the trees could still continue to grow and penetrate the sea of sand. Even though the wild sand whirlwind had the ability to devour life force, it could not keep up with the tenacious life force of the trees. After devouring a tree, it would turn into a dead tree. However, it would immediately be reborn and its life force would become even stronger. Good. Saint Sovereign Zhongsun is indeed one of the strongest disciples in the direct disciple residence. He has already suppressed the natural enemy of wood. Many disciples exclaimed in admiration. Regardless of gender, they all looked at Zhongsun Tianming with fanatical admiration. At the same level, the Tao skills used were natural enemies. However, they could not do anything to Zhongsun Tianming's wood Tao. It could be seen how powerful Zhongsun Tianming's Tao skills were. Don't flatter me. The Tao skills that I have cultivated are as numerous as carps crossing the river. If sand and ice do not work, then I will use the Tao of killing metal. As early as 10,000 years ago, this sect master had cultivated this Tao to the peak of perfection. This time, I really don't want to use it. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed again and again. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the Tao of killing metal. Swoosh. All of a sudden, Wang Kai moved his feet and instantly appeared in front of Zhongsun Tianming. He waved his arms and layers of golden light appeared on his arms. The sharp killing intent made the faces of the disciples who were watching the battle feel a slight prickle. Metal restrains wood. Absolute restraint, absolute natural enemy. Can Saint Sovereign Zhongsun turn the tide again? Many disciples frowned. Naturally, they could sense the power of the Tao of killing metal. If their cultivation levels were not higher than Wang Kai's, even if they were watching from afar, they would have been killed instantly. Crack! Bang! Suddenly, to everyone's disbelief, the trees in front of Zhongsun Tianming were all smashed into pieces by Wang Kai. Even Zhongsun Tianming's figure was forced back dozens of steps. What else do you have to be so awesome now? Didn't they say that you have cultivated the Tao of wood to the peak level? Why is it that when you meet Sha Jin, you are nothing? Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly as he sneered mockingly. Metal restrains wood and is the absolute natural enemy. There is no need to waste bragging points to obtain the Tao of killing metal. Humph, Saint Sovereign Zhongsun has suppressed his cultivation level to the same level as yours. He is already extraordinary to be able to withstand the Tao of ice and Tao of wild sand. Moreover, the Tao of killing metal is the absolute natural enemy of wood. What is there to be proud of? That's right. Saint Sovereign Zhongsun is unharmed under the attack of the natural enemy of wood. This proves that Saint Sovereign Zhongsun's Tao skill is terrifyingly powerful. Wang Kai frowned when he heard the refuting words of the disciples. He sneered with disdain. Good, good, good. Since that is the case, this sect master will give this grandson a good beating today. I will let all of you know that the Tao of wood he cultivates is nothing more than useless trash in front of this sect master. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 9th grade Tao King realm. Scavenger? Everyone's face darkened when they heard that. They stared at Wang Kai angrily. It was despicable to insult Zhongsun Tianming's Tao skill like that. Do you think that I've only cultivated the Tao of wood? Haha, the Tao of the 5 elements is just the most basic Tao. Alright, I'll make an exception today and teach my junior brothers and sisters. Junior brothers and sisters, watch carefully. Zhang Sun Tianming smiled faintly. Tao of the Great Sun, superpower, Great Sun Flame technique. Chapter 431. Buzz. As a blazing sun appeared behind Zhang Sun Tianming, the surrounding temperature rose rapidly. Layers of heat waves roasted everyone, causing them to sweat profusely. Even though Zhang Sun Tianming had suppressed his cultivation level to the same level as Wang Kai, the power of his Dao art still affected everyone present. Wang Kai was not spared either. His clothes were instantly soaked in sweat. His entire body was red from the high temperature, and even his breathing was terrifyingly hot. The water in his body was constantly being depleted. As for the murderous metal energy that covered the area, it gradually dissipated under the high temperature. The originally sharp murderous metal energy had softened, like a spear that had been bent by the heat. Using high temperatures to turn metal into metal. Grandson, this sect master is not willing to play with you anymore. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. His voice was hoarse, and he was extremely eager to drink to his heart's content. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai rolled up his sleeves, revealing his arm that was as red as a piece of hot metal. He took a step forward and threw a punch at Zhang Sun Tianming. Even though there were countless Taoist techniques in the system, and there were quite a few that could counter the Tao of the Great Sun, Wang Kai didn't want to compete with Taoist technique. If he did so, wouldn't he be wasting his bragging points? You want to compete with the strength of your body? Haha, this holy sovereign is the diamond deity. Bang! War suddenly, before Zhang Sun Tianming could finish his words, Wang Kai's punch landed on his face. Zhang Sun Tianming was instantly sent flying. Blood spurted out of his mouth as he fell heavily to the ground. Are you trying to say that you have the diamond divine body? What's the use of that? This sect master has the sovereign body. My name is the 9-5 Sovereign. How can a mere divine body like yours contend against me? Wang Kai's expression was filled with disdain. His body did not slow down as he arrived in front of Zhang Sun Tianming. He sat on Zhang Sun Tianming's body, grabbed his neck, and threw a punch at him. Bang! Bang bang! Pretentious prick! Who asked you to be so smug? Bang! Bang bang bang! Do you really think I don't know? You're at the level above the Tao God realm, and the Tao arts you cultivate have long since condensed into a sovereign Tao art. Since that's the case, how can you show off how powerful your Tao art is? Bang! Bang! Return your grandpa's great solar Tao, damn your grandpa. Bang! Crack! Under everyone's incredulous gazes, Wang Kai repeatedly smashed down with his fists, causing Zhang Sun Tianming's eyes to roll back. His bruised face was smashed to smithereens. He actually has a sovereign physique. Heavens! This was impossible. The sovereign body? How could there be a sovereign body in the eastern wasteland? There are already very few people who can achieve a divine body. Many disciples were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They couldn't help but stand up and look at Zhang Sun Tianming, who was being suppressed and beaten up. For a moment, they couldn't recover their wits. At this moment, even the two elders were stunned. The divine body was already the best in the eastern wilderness, but now there was a sovereign body. The sovereign body was above the divine body, and it was on a completely different level. If they were to fight and both of them were at the same level, the divine body wouldn't even have the chance to fight back. Wang Kai, I will definitely kill you. Buzz. Bang. Woo! Suddenly, Zhang Sun Tianming let out a furious roar. Immediately, his oppressive might swept forth. He no longer continued to suppress his cultivation. That terrifying oppressive might immediately sent Wang Kai flying into the sky. Blood sprayed out from Wang Kai's mouth like a stream of water. Zhang Sun Tianming's body swayed and he slowly stood up. Relying on the recovery ability of the divine body, his shattered face and shattered arms quickly recovered. Mansion Master, this guy is stubborn and doesn't know what's good for him. I have no choice but to kill him, Zhang Sun Tianming said coldly. He could no longer maintain his calm composure. As a direct holy venerate, he was actually being ridden and beaten by Wang Kai. How could he tolerate such humiliation? Swoosh. The moment he spoke, Zhang Sun Tianming soared into the air. He no longer concealed his strength as he charged towards Wang Kai. He wanted to kill Su Mo with a single strike. Brat, wake up quickly! Wake up quickly! In the Sky Tower, Lord Cat couldn't remain calm and he quickly sent a voice transmission to Su Mo, cough cough. Damn it! You can't defeat me, so you're throwing sand? F***ck your grandfather. Even if I die today, I won't forgive you. Wang Kai woke up with a pale face. When he felt the surging qi and blood in his body, as well as the bones in his body that had been crushed by the aura, the anger in his heart was monstrous. Swoosh. Wang Kai gritted his teeth and flicked his finger. A drop of crimson blood pierced through the sky and forcefully stopped his body from flying. Then, he waved his hands and pressed them down. Crack! Crack! Hiss! Under Wang Kai's desperate struggle, the bones and tendons of his arms, which had been shattered by the pressure, broke apart once again, causing his arms to droop down powerlessly for a moment. Buzz! However, in the blink of an eye, the broken arms recovered rapidly. The speed of recovery was several times faster than Zhang Sun Tianming's. Super power, providence, deprivation, skill. Let's die together. F***ck your grandfather. Swoosh. Swoosh. In an instant, two huge white fog arms appeared in the sky. Zhang Sun Tianming, who was charging over, narrowed his eyes and couldn't help but look up. Above his head, there was a huge ball of five-colored brilliance. It was the manifestation of providence. Do you want to die? How dare you deprive me of my providence? Zhang Sun Tianming sneered disdainfully. He suddenly increased his speed and came before Wang Kai in an instant. He raised his hand into a fist and smashed it down on Wang Kai's head. Deprive! Buzz! Bang! Suddenly, the two huge white fog arms grabbed the fate above Zhang Sun Tianming's head. With a grip, Zhang Sun Tianming's attack came to a halt, and his body stiffened in midair. Crack! 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 After blocking Zhang Sun Tianming's attack, Wang Kai didn't feel good. All the blood vessels in his body were broken and blood spurted out. His skin, flesh, tendons, and bones exploded. In an instant, he was covered in blood. With Wang Kai's martial realm, forcibly depriving him of the Tao God realm was his limit, let alone Zhang Sun Tianming, who was above the Tao God realm. Even a sovereign body couldn't withstand it. Humph! Ignorant ant, you are just digging your own grave. Zhang Sun Tianming snorted disdainfully. The fear from before gradually disappeared and was replaced by endless mockery. Even if I die, you won't live. F***ck you. Come on. Crack. Bang. Rumble. Suddenly, Wang Kai clenched his teeth and roared furiously, causing the white fog arm to clench tightly. Immediately, Zhang Sun Tianming's fate was crushed and scattered. However, Wang Kai's physical body exploded in midair. Not even a drop of blood was left. Zhang Sun Tianming's life disappeared in an instant and his corpse fell from the sky. This is impossible. Sovereign Zhang Sun. Gosh. Oh no. Sovereign Zhang Sun has fallen. Hurry up and inform the mansion master. The numerous disciples and the two elders below all cried out in alarm, their faces deathly pale. At the same time, in a courtyard in the Holy Master Mansion, a drop of crimson blood shone and gradually formed a figure. F***ck your grandpa. You caused this sect master to die. How unlucky. Wang Kai snorted with a dark face. Even though he had killed Zhang Sun Tianming, he was still unhappy. Chapter 432. What made Wang Kai even more speechless was that he couldn't get any experience points from killing people using the path of fate. Zhangsun Tianming was in existence above the Tao God realm. If there was a reward, who knew how much he would improve? In Wang Kai's opinion, he had died for nothing. Who are you? Why are you in my mansion? At the entrance of the courtyard, a plainly dressed woman with an ordinary face was standing there and looking at Wang Kai quietly. I'm your father. Why don't you ask me? Wang Kai's face darkened. He wasn't in a good mood, so why would he care about this? He directly retorted. Swoosh. As soon as he said that, the woman's face became angry. She stared at Wang Kai angrily and said coldly, How dare you? How dare you? Can't you see that I'm depressed? You? Wang Kai frowned when he heard that. When he came back to his senses, he cursed angrily. But in the end, when he saw the woman's face, his expression suddenly froze. The woman's appearance was ordinary, but she gave Wang Kai a very familiar feeling, as if he had seen her somewhere before. Restriction, all lives equal. Restriction, seal the heavens and lock the earth. Buzz. Swoosh. In an instant, circles of white ripples drifted away, followed by pitch-black formation chains. Wang Kai was stunned when he saw this. He did not expect that the one he ran into would actually be an array master. More importantly, his own realm was suppressed to the martial disciple realm? You're a martial disciple. Patter. Patter. Under Wang Kai's surprised gaze, his whole body was bound by the pitch-black formation chains, and he was slowly suspended in the air. He wanted to struggle, but he couldn't muster any strength at all. Using all lives equal to suppress the opponent's realm first. You're also a martial disciple. With the ability and means of a martial disciple, even if the original realm is many times stronger than yours, you can't break free from the seal the heavens and lock the earth. TSK, what a perfect match. Wonderful. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and nodded with a smile full of praise. If Wang Kai had used the equality of all lives restriction instead, his opponent's cultivation would definitely be suppressed to the 9th grade of the Tao King realm. At that time, if he used seal the heavens and lock the earth again, if the power was not enough, it was entirely possible that the other party would be able to break free. However, a martial disciple absolutely could not. After all, the martial disciple realm was only the entry level of martial art. How could they have the strength to break free from the array? You are also a formation Tao cultivator? You actually know the restrictions that I created? Could it be that you came from the immortal martial domain? The woman's eyes were filled with surprise as she looked at Wang Kai curiously. There was even a trace of affection in her eyes for someone from the same hometown. Equality of all living beings and sealing heaven and locking earth were actually the restrictions created by this woman? Why did it sound like she also came from the immortal martial realm? Martial disciple realm. Immortal martial domain, equality of all lifeforms. You can't be that despicable Luo Ning from the Dragon Coiling Mountain, right? The corners of Wang Kai's lips twitched as he stared at her speechlessly. He didn't expect to meet Luo Ning here. He vaguely remembered that back then in the Dragon Coiling Mountain of the immortal martial domain, Luo Ning relied on a formation to leave behind her image in the ruins. The White Tiger Dao tablet and the 99 Dao transformation formation were also left behind by her. She even trapped a winged dragon at the peak of the Dragon Coiling Mountain. Despicable woman? Pucci, hearing this, Luo Ning instantly understood. She couldn't help but smile as she waved her jade-like hands to disperse the restriction. Only then did she let out a strange smile as she asked, Seems like not only are you a cultivator from the immortal martial domain, you even obtained the ruins left behind by me. Pada. Pada. Wang Kai stretched his body, causing crackling sounds to ring out. After which, he took out a folding fan and fanned it lightly. Sweeping his gaze across the courtyard, which was filled with weeds and ordinary-looking houses, he couldn't help but shake his head and laugh lightly. I didn't expect that the number 1 formation Dao cultivator of the immortal martial domain, Luo Ning, would be reduced to such a state after transforming into the Dao and coming to the Eastern Desolation. Such a state? Hee, I wonder what kind of state you are talking about? Luo Ning shook her head and laughed lightly. Her gaze was filled with a strange light as she stared at Wang Kai. She truly didn't expect that the ruins left behind by her would be obtained by such a strange man. Wang Kai let out a long sigh. With one hand behind his back, he walked in front of Luo Ning and fanned himself as he laughed. Forget it, on account of the fact that we both came from the immortal martial domain, you can follow this sect leader in the future. Don't worry, with this sect leader's status and identity, there's no one in the 8 Desolation who doesn't respect me. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. So it turned out that he despised the courtyard for being too simple and crude? Luo Ning instantly understood. She couldn't help but burst out into laughter again. She covered her red lips as she slowly retreated a few steps, increasing the distance between her and Wang Kai. Only then did she say, "Glory, splendor, wealth, and rank are all like smoke. As long as you like it, you can find shelter anywhere. If you don't like it, even if the 8 Desolation is yours, it would still be useless." Oh my God! Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He looked at her with a rather surprised expression. He couldn't help but close his fan with a snap. He acted as if he had met an old friend in a foreign land and said with a faint smile, "What a good mood. What a great bragging." Pfft. Such words instantly caused Luo Ning to cover her face and laugh. Her beautiful eyes were filled with extraordinary splendor as she sized up Wang Kai. She had been in the 8 Desolation for so long, but she had never met such an interesting young man. Can you stop laughing all the time? Bragging is a very sacred thing, okay? Especially in front of this god of bragging, you have to be more serious. You have to know how to respect your seniors. Come, let's brag again. Wang Kai shrugged and snorted with a rather displeased expression. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through to the first stage Dao Emperor realm. Ha ha ha, you're really interesting. What's your name? Luo Ning felt even more surprised and laughed hysterically on the spot. Wang Kai furrowed his brows when he saw this. His gaze was filled with unfriendliness as he stared at Luo Ning. Lifting his fan, he tapped Luo Ning's shoulder and spoke in a lecturing tone. Although you are the number 1 formation cultivator in the immortal martial realm 5,000 years ago, in front of this bragging deity, your bragging skills can't even be considered a beginner. Before you ask for the title of this bragging deity, you have to report your name and address me as senior. Do you understand? You're simply too rude. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Hearing this, Luo Ning was even more surprised and wanted to tease him. She immediately held back her laughter and nodded. She pursed her lips tightly to prevent herself from laughing out loud and said, "Senior bragging, I'm Luo Ning, from the immortal martial domain. I came to the eastern wasteland 5,000 years ago, and am now the Vice Mansion Master of the Celestial Master Residence. May I know Senior's name?" That's not bad. You're worth teaching. This sect master has never changed his name nor his surname. My name is Wang Kai. I'm the Vice Mansion Master of the Celestial Master Residence of the Celestial Master Residence? Before Wang Kai could finish his sentence, his eyes suddenly bulged and his face suddenly stiffened. He would never have thought that the Vice Mansion Master of the Celestial Master Residence would actually live in such a simple courtyard and dress so plainly. Wouldn't this be like capsizing a boat in a ditch? He had just killed a personal disciple of the Celestial Master Residence. Chapter 433. You're Wang Kai, the one who barged into the Celestial Master Residence and behaved atrociously? Luo Ning's eyes narrowed and her face turned solemn. The laughter from before had completely disappeared. She didn't know him? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He looked at her rather puzzled, wondering if this woman was just teasing him. Logically speaking, Gu Bingning had no reason not to tell her about him. She should have guessed his identity when she saw that he had obtained the Dragon Mountain relic. After all, Gu Bingning had also gone to the Dragon Mountain relic. Now, she had become the disciple of the Celestial Master Residence's Mansion Master and Vice Mansion Master. She had no reason not to know about him. Since that was the case, why didn't Luo Ning realize that he was Wang Kai, the one who had barged into the Celestial Master Residence? It could be seen that Gu Bingning didn't tell Luo Ning that she had also entered the Dragon Mountain relic. F***ck, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have said it. You despicable B****, how dare you set a trap for me? Wang Kai's face darkened. He blamed all his mistakes on Luo Ning. Luo Ning pursed her lips and laughed softly. Her serious expression disappeared instantly and was replaced by a mischievous look. She laughed softly and said, "Don't worry. You and I are both from the Celestial Martial Domain. Because of the Dragon Mountain relic, we have formed a bond with each other. Even if you are in danger, we will help you." Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He did not know if what she said was true or false. However, he had indeed gotten himself into trouble. Through the battle with Zhang Sun Tianming, he understood that even if he had many treasures and weapons, he might not be able to do as he pleased in a Grade 1 force. Although he didn't know why the Mansion Master wanted him to join the Celestial Master Residence, if the Mansion Master wanted to deal with him, even his treasures wouldn't be able to stop him. Could it be that he would die again? Thinking of this, the corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched slightly. If his death was worth something, then it was fine. But if he died without any benefits like just now, then it was not worth it. Not only did he lose face, but there was also no reward. Such a loss of face was something he was unwilling to do. Since that's the case, think of a way for me to go to the Central Wilderness. When I see the Heavenly Emperor of the Central Wilderness, I'll inform her and let you be the Mansion Master of the Celestial Master Mansion. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather indifferent expression. His appearance and expression were completely saying that he was very awesome. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through to the second stage of the Tao Emperor realm. Heading to the Central Wasteland, he could still order the Central Wasteland's Celestial Emperor? When Luo Ning heard this, the smile on her pretty face disappeared. Instead, she changed into an expression of looking at an idiot. She pursed her lips, shook her head, and sighed. It seems that the inheritance of this mansion was actually obtained by an idiot. Sigh. Idiot? Idiot? Where is he? Wang Kai's brows immediately raised. He swept his gaze left and right in a serious manner. In the end, he did not find a single figure. Luo Ning felt even more sorrowful when she saw this scene. She naturally knew that Wang Kai was playing the fool. She shook her head lightly and sighed, "Forget it. Leave the 9-9 transformation formation to Ning. As for going to the Central Wilderness, I'll think of a way. However, before that, you have to treat my nephew Lan Jiyo first. Otherwise, even I can't make the Mansion Master show mercy." Treat Lan Jiyo? I have to give the 9-9 transformation formation to that little girl, Gu Bingning? Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. He looked at her with a rather playful expression and said with a playful smile, "Luo Ning, you don't look like much, but you're very quick-witted. Although the 9-9 transformation formation and Lan Jio's grandson's illness are not a big deal, in the end, it's still me who's at a disadvantage." Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, it instantly caused Luo Ning's beautiful brows to frown. Her gaze revealed slight displeasure as she said in a cold voice, "Wang Kai, on account of the fact that both of us are from the immortal martial domain, being able to protect your life and send you to the central wasteland is already a great bargain. What else do you want? As a young man, it's not good to be insatiable. You want me to hand over the 9-9 transformation formation and treat Lan Jio. In the end, you still say that I'm insatiable? Do you know that I obtained the 9-9 transformation formation when I took the risk to enter the ruins back then? Lan Jio even wanted to kill me. In the end, he was no match for me and ended up in such a state. Doesn't this serve him right?" Wang Kai's gaze was rather unfriendly as he snorted coldly. For Wang Kai, who prided himself on his love for money, it was absolutely impossible for him to accept a loss. If anyone were to suffer a loss, it would be others who would suffer a loss. Luo Ning frowned when she saw this. She really couldn't grasp Wang Kai's character. He was smart one moment, but he was pretending to be crazy the next. She decided not to discuss with him, and said indifferently, "You don't have a choice. Whether you live or die, it's all up to you. Before that, you can temporarily stay in this courtyard. Without my permission, you are not allowed to leave, and you are not allowed to release your cultivation base. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences." As soon as she finished speaking, Luo Ning turned around and was about to leave. However, just as she lifted her foot, she saw a green streamer floating down from the void. It turned into a jade token and fell into her palm. Swoosh. When the light on the jade tablet dissipated, Luo Ning immediately turned around with an ugly expression on her face. She stared coldly at Wang Kai and said in a deep voice, "You really have a lot of guts and ability." Wang Kai was not surprised by this. Since Luo Ning was the vice mansion master of the Celestial Master Mansion, she naturally knew about Zhang Sun Tianming's death. He shrugged his shoulders and smiled casually. "He's too weak. He's too weak. You want to settle this matter with just these 4 words? Luo Ning's eyes were extremely cold. She really didn't expect Wang Kai to be so cunning and so shameless. He could even kill someone in a fair competition. Now, he even acted as if he didn't care. He was really shameless. If Luo Ning had known that the Dragon Mountain relic would fall into the hands of such a despicable person, she definitely wouldn't have chosen to leave the Dragon Mountain relic behind. Who wants to settle this matter? If the Celestial Master Mansion isn't satisfied, they can come and find me. Moreover, I think you're the real idiot. If it weren't for the fact that tomorrow's grandson violated the terms of the competition and used his original cultivation base to kill me, would he have ended up dead? The most important thing was that grandson of his. He was completely useless. He caused me to die for nothing. If Zhang Sun Tianming can come back to life, I will definitely kill him again." Wang Kai snorted coldly with a dark expression. When he mentioned this matter, his heart was filled with anger. It would be fine if he could get some experience points. However, he didn't get any. You clearly killed Zhang Sun Tianming in a fair competition with a strange secret technique. In the end, you even used a strange secret technique to fake your death and escape to my courtyard. Now you actually dare to quibble? Luo Ning reprimanded with an ashen face. F***K. Wang Kai's face turned as black as ink. If this girl didn't come from the immortal martial domain, he wouldn't have bothered to explain to her. What was more infuriating was that even if he explained, it would be useless. He simply couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with her. Bullshit. Where did all these strange secret techniques come from? Are you an idiot? Little girl, Don't think that you can show off in front of this sect master just because you are a formation Tao cultivator. If you dare to slander this sect master's character again, this sect master will let you know that any formation Tao in the world is just trash in front of this sect master's 10,000 formation Tao diagram. Wang Kai snorted coldly with an unkind gaze. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.